Listen to the LARP Lounge live on Sundays at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time at twitch.tv/errorstar. That's twitch.tv/ARRUSTAR.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Season 1, Episode 7 of the LARP Lounge. Woo! Here we are again with Lita Deadmost. Not her real name, but the name that everyone knows her by. And we have our special guest today is...
Kovac Bofford.
Oh, I didn't know he had a last name.
Of course my character has a last name.
Hey, we've had some come on here and they're like, no. So...
That's lame.
To each their own.
So today we're going to be discussing the Player Emissary position, which he recently just retired from. Mm-hmm. Raul, how you doing today? Thanks for being here. I appreciate that. Anyway.
Yeah, I know who it is.
Okay. So I guess we're going to go ahead and get started. So first things first. I always have to ask this question of everybody. What does LARP mean to you?
Well, that is a loaded question. LARP is kind of a stress relief for me. It's obviously my main hobby. It is a way to be a part of a community and still do what you want to do, which in my case, it's, role play, it's dressing up, it's hitting people with sticks, padded sticks, and seeing stories play out from other people's point of views and, the world as a whole for Cerealia. And to hang out with friends, make new friends, hit them.
Hit them. It's good therapy, guys.
Make new friends and hit them.
Yes.
That goes right up there with make new friends and eat them.
Oh, that was a fun time.
Yeah, I don't eat people anymore, guys. Leave me alone.
All right. So what is the Player Emissary position, and what do you do?
So the Player Emissary in Mythic Realms is a position built to give the players a voice and ensure the player base is being treated well. Kind of a third party watching both how the volunteer staff are doing things and then seeing the players and then getting feedback from players, especially if they want to be anonymous, to then talk to certain people on staff if it's related to them. It's also for new players. If there's any new players, communicate with them, make sure they're comfortable with the rules as much as they can in a crash course of 10 to 15 minutes before we start, or ensure that someone talks to them. And then some kind of more logistical stuff like waivers and contact information too.
Logistics. Yeah.
So...
Sometimes that word is daunting.
I personally want to thank you for... I know that you're done doing it, but I actually really appreciated when you were Player Emissary, because when I came back to the game, I had been gone for a while, and you immediately made me feel welcome and just that I belonged again. Like, I was worried that there was going to be some integration and that some of the people might have forgotten who I was. And I believe you were new to me, but either way, you immediately just all the time, hey, thanks for coming. Thanks for NPCing. Thanks for being here. When you just always kept me, engaged, and you were always engaged with me. So I just personally wanted to thank you for doing that, because I don't know that I would have made it back as much as I am if it wasn't for you. Like, really.
Well, you're welcome.
So
it's kind of fun, though, whenever I go to what I think is a new person, like, hey, thanks for coming to Mythic Realms, blah, blah, blah. Start talking to them, like, oh, yeah, I was here like 5 years ago for 5 or so years. You don't need to talk to me. I'm like, okay. But sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes it's in your case, they've been here, but they still need to find someone to talk to. And sometimes they're brand new, or they come from, like, Alliance or any of the other LARPs in the area.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I know when me and my family joined, we kind of crashed the party.
We did.
We came to it was August Weekender 2 years ago.
Yeah. I think so. 2 years.
2 years ago. Yeah, August Weekender 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think that was it, because I met you guys at when I NPC'd the Winterfest 2 years ago. So you would have been 3 years ago then.
So yeah, it would have been 3. Yeah,
Because
this
you
would
had
have been my
just barely-
third August.
Yeah,
weekend,
you
right?
would have just barely
So, yeah, it would have been
started.
3 years ago.
I think you
'Cause
were
I-
near the beginning of when I was player emissary because I've been playing for about 4 years, and it took about a year till I jumped into that position.
Yeah. So I remember I was like, oh, look at this whole new family that I've never seen before. And here I am. And literally the first time I encounter them, I'm playing a golem trying to kill them. Like, literally, I was like, oh, this is crazy. But
It's the best way to do it.
Yeah, really is.
the Nevis Gaming, how you doing? Kohlrabi, cannot stay, got to run and get food, but wanted to lurk and show some love. Hey, thank you for that, Kohlrabi. Oh, hey, thank you for the bits. Woo!
Man, I need glasses.
Well, you're also farther back. Like, I can barely see that. But
Thanks for coming.
yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for the bits. Also, we're all in full armor today. As you guys can see, Alita's in her armor. So, yeah, it might be a little
And
noisy.
I got some armor underneath my tabard.
Yeah. His is probably the quietest armor
It
in the
is.
group. So
And the lightest.
Hopefully and the lightest as he brags over there.
5 pounds.
So hopefully it's not too noisy with our armor creaking and cracking and thumping and yeah. So yeah, that was way loud. So
1 second.
You gonna hit me?
I'm going to have a weapon so I can.
see, I'm breaking the first rule of a warden right now. I should always have a weapon on me so that I
That's
can
all right.
defend my bond.
Too
That's
bad.
all right.
Yeah.
I'll just
Plus
die.
it's still. So. Oh yeah, the sound effects. I forgot the sound effects again. I actually thought about them the other night, but I currently am not in possession of my flash card.
We have sound effects.
Flash drive. Yeah.
Oh. Neat. I don't
We should
know what
have
they'd
sound
be used
effects.
for.
There you go.
Well, like right now, there's like normally there's like an oriental, like a mandolin playing right now with like a tune when Nevid shows up, but it's not playing because it specifically looks for a file on my computer, and this isn't my computer, so the file's not there. I know, I fail. I keep forgetting to like I actually thought about it last night, and then I'm like, crap, I don't have my flash drive. I need to get it.
Do
yeah.
or do
I
not.
know.
There is no try.
I didn't even try. I just went, I don't have my flash drive. Oh well. So anyway, so I mean, was there anything else to talk about with the player emissary? Or?
There's a lot. Well, there's some stories. There's some things that I would recommend, even if you don't have a player emissary. So I'll just start. With player emissary, one of the things you kind of want to be careful of is setting expectations for players, I guess. It is good that their voice is heard, but sometimes, players have characters they really are dedicated to, and they kind of get central focused around that character, not expecting the world to interact with the group as a whole and just them. And so sometimes you do need to sit down with the player and kind of set expectations. Like, yes, your character is heroic. Yes, you're part of Northwatch. But also there's 15 other people in Northwatch doing their own thing. So every week you can't expect something to happen for your character. But other times it is lending an ear just to listen to their complaints, just because people need something to vent to. Other times, if there's a new player coming in, or there's someone just watching us go through a park hitting each other, you don't necessarily have to be the one. I don't have to be the one talking to them. I just have to ensure someone is there interacting with them. Because sometimes I see someone coming up talking, and then one of the players starts getting really enthusiastic and talking about all the things they can do and talks about his character. I'm like, that's good. I'll just leave it at that because you don't want to do too much.
Nevitz Gaming says, hide your friendships from the guy in the back.
Hey, that was totally an accident. It was an accident for my character, not my player. Funny story. Basically, my other character, Valoron, he's a human magic caster. Ritualist is the easiest way to describe him. He recently took a piece of solidified time and space magic and integrated himself so he has an expanded lifespan. The downside to that is that whole night, time kind of fluctuated for him. Like, people were talking very slow and then suddenly moving up fast. And so, like, he would
that's
jerk
what was
around a
going
little
on.
because he was, like, moving slow and then suddenly went faster. And he had a bag of chips because a new character came in with chips. And she's like, these are friend chips. And started giving them out because she's friendly, I guess.
Right.
And so I took the bag because I was hungry, and I was just munching on them, and then I went to move, and then it jerked out of my hand and dumped the whole bag on the ground. So I kind of ruined the whole bag of chips. And obviously out of game, I cleaned it up afterwards because we were inside a building. And I knew the player, and so it wasn't like a random person I don't have much interaction with and just ruined a half a bag of chips, $2 or $3 worth of chips. So I kind of talked to them a little bit afterwards. Just things happen in role play, and we want to make sure there's no bleed that happens. So one of the good things as a player emissary type position, or as a player as a whole, is when you do something that you're like, this probably could get on their nerves outside of game, just talk to them a little bit afterwards. Like, hey, I apologize about doing this. It was kind of in game. It was what my character would have done. How can I make it up to you if you're upset? Like, do I need to throw a few dollars your way so I get a new bag of chips or something like that? Or just give them a hug or handshake or slap on the face, whatever.
whatever they need at the time.
Yes, but Boji was very quick to go get the character and to tattletale that the friendships had been dropped. So he was like, hold on, I gotta go get her. And he was like, no, don't go get her, no.
Trying to sweep it under the rug, and it wouldn't work.
Yep. She comes in the room and was like, no. It was great. It was pretty good. So
that's awesome. Good role play like that that's one of the things that I love about LARP is the improv role play. You can't plan this out. It makes it nothing like theater, your traditional plays or whatever. You can't plan some of the crazy stuff that happens. And even when you do try and plan some crazy stuff, it's always crazier than what you planned.
Yeah, and I know with some people, improv is second nature, and others they freeze up if they try to go outside their norm. And some of the things they can do is, and one of the groups in our in Mythic Realms actually did a D&D one shot basically with their characters, with the DM, to kind of get a feel for their personality, kind of do some interactions to know how this type of person would interact with. So even if you're not good with role play, you could still get the personality down to say, would he be angry? Yes, yell, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And doing certain situations as you go through LARP or Mythic Realms, you'll see certain things kind of cycle through, and so you kind of know what type of things to prepare for. So you could do that in the mirror, on the drive, to your friends, and just kind of get that ingrained to kind of help with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, one of the things that I knew as Lita when I decided to become a White Knight is that there would be a lot of this with the rest of the town.
True White Knights, I hate them.
See?
that's the mentality of most of the town because.
Yep. So that was something that I did a lot of mental preparation for out of game, to be like, all right, so how am I going to respond when they say this? I know that they're going to be mad about this. In this situation, how would I handle it? And that's just something that I do when I'm driving in the car. I'm not a big music person, so a lot of times I listen to my thoughts in the car.
That's good
boring.
because with White Knights, you really do have to be prepared because it's very taxing. Not only player-to-player interactions, but even player and NPC interactions, because they require a lot of White Knights. They're like, if you don't uphold the code, oh boy.
It's all or nothing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. There is no wavering. It is all or nothing. So That's definitely one that requires some preparation, I guess you could say. So,
granted, you do get a lot of plot backup with being a White Knight. And this is something I didn't do, which if you have someone in my kind of position, is if you have a roleplay heavy class or type of character, talent or whatever in your group, and there's something like a White Knight that, they show mercy, they're loyal, they're, try to be the better and your group isn't, maybe sit down and talk to them what it means. And I think there's a few people in our group that we probably didn't do that as well as we should, and so it was kind of a shock whenever that happened.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think the White Knight, that whole clash between lawful good and chaotic neutral at best, which is what most of the town is.
Yeah.
We're getting a little bit better. Sometimes we're chaotic good.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're chaotic.
Overall, we are getting better. Actually, I would say it's surprising.
Now that the Gardetskis are gone.
Yep. It's amazing how much.
Yeah. So that's for me. That was actually one of the reasons why I decided to go White Knight, is because I wanted to be able to have that interaction. You know, that no, this is really what I believe in and what I stand for, and like, no, I'm not gonna, give up my ground, and I'm gonna do this despite what the rest of y'all think, and if it means that I die, then so be it.
How many times have you died?
And yeah.
And I've died a lot.
But not a lot of them have been due to those interactions, though. So
No.
people have been
Well, not
have
directly.
but people have respected you, though. Like, that's the thing. Like,
Yeah, I think most of the major blowups that Lita's had with other characters in game have been resolved in game, except for Rigel. But I haven't seen Rigel in game since that last blowup. So,
And I don't know if that's related to being a White Knight or not, so much as
being undead. Yeah, I know. That's true. That's another reason why I'm undead too.
Nevis is right. We don't necessarily want to deter people from playing White Knight. We just want them to understand that they're tough.
Yes,
Rigel is a bigot.
It's a true story.
Also, Nevis, thank you for the bits. I see them now, so I appreciate that.
Is that like a bribe? Anyways,
I mean, I guess.
White Knight is a great class to do roleplay, both with plot and NPC along with other players, both good and bad. So if you do like that type of roleplay, White Knight is definitely good for you. But if you're starting out and you're still uncomfortable with that, all the improv and roleplay that happens, I would say don't.
Don't go with something
Neither
quite
White
so
nor
intense.
Black Knight.
Yeah.
Or Druid. Well, I guess you could do Druid. They're just all pro nature. It's fine.
Yeah, but they're not as extreme. They're
No.
not like in your face about it. They're just like,
Yeah,
oh darn.
that's definitely something to consider when you're choosing your class. Is what type of role play are you willing to do? Like, do you want to just be an expert adventurer and just hit things and just or cast or whatever? You just want to. You're just there for the battle. Or do you really want to engage in that role play? And then if you do, then pick a class that has, very specific agendas that they stick to.
And that's something as a player emissary you kind of have to watch out for, or those that try to be the voice of the player, is what type of player are they? Because there are players that just want to hit things. They're really gung-ho about the combat and the technical side of things for that, and so they may not care much about the roleplay portion. So we need to ensure that some modules aren't just a roleplay module. There's something happening in the background. Even when there is a roleplay, we know whenever we're in an NPC scene, we're like, oh, this is going to be 30 to 40 minutes of discussion with an NPC that comes in, because it is a major plot point. But that's not going to catch 1/4 of the players, because they want to fight things. So we have some NPCs just kind of wander in as beasts or elemental creatures just to fight while the talking's happening.
Yep, that we would try and please as many people as we can, because a lot of people get super bored with the role play, and they sit there and they're like, they start talking out a game, and then they, it's not as fun for them. So try and keep them engaged.
I'm trying to get better at getting involved in the role play, but I just feel so disconnected from everything going on. Like, I'm starting to be here for the beginning of plots, so now I'm actually understanding things. Like, that was the hard time for me, is when I did come in, I was in the middle of all these plots, and so when there's super important information, I'm like, this means nothing to me. So I would just go and fight because it was just going over my head. But I am working on trying to get more of that role play in, trying to talk more. So.
And that's kind of the rough part with overarching plots, is when new players come in halfway through, people have already kind of solidified what they're doing in that plot or the direction, and so they're kind of lost in the mix of things. So it's kind of hard to get them engaged too, unless they come right off the bat with a good role play or some way to integrate themselves into it, it's kind of hard to drag someone in.
Yeah. And I think that it's not necessarily a bad thing for some people either, because that gives them an opportunity to get used to the technicalities of LARPing as a new player, because there are so many things that you have to remember. Like, do I say normal 4 or 4 normal? Like
Yeah.
that's it's the simple little things like that even if you're not paying attention wholeheartedly to the plot that's going on, you're learning how to play the game.
And one of the recommendations I always say is, when you're first starting out, you have to NPC at least once. Well, you don't have to. I strongly recommend it because you focus solely on the stats.
I agree with that 100%. That's what I always recommend for people. Even people that are interested, I'm like, come NPC with me. Come see what it's like. That's, in my opinion, is one of the best ways to come see what it's like. So I agree with that 100%. So
yeah, that first weekender that I came in, we did about half and half. PCing and NPCing, and I'm very glad that we did the NPCing, because it helped us understand everything so much better.
Nevitz Gaming says, even if I don't understand what's going on, I still try to listen because I may still be able to help with it when roleplay stuff is happening. Yeah, see, and I'm bad at that, and I need to, like I said, I'm trying to work on that more. Also, we didn't do this earlier. Welcome to the stream, Zanny. I appreciate you being here.
Welcome.
I'm wondering, I have a feeling that's Rin.
Oh, is it? Maybe? Oh, yeah. Probably.
Yeah.
I had to think about that for a sec.
Nah, just a coincidence.
Again, Ren does have a lot of random disguises, so it could be.
So
Probably.
Never hurts to
Never
ask
trust
those
her.
who seem to know what's up. That's
Yep.
true.
Granted, if they're a grumpy face in game, you may not want to ask them, and they'll just growl and hit you.
It's true. Even if they know stuff, not everybody's willing to share. And that's just part of the role play of the game, is trying to figure out. So sneaky.
So sneaky.
Trying to figure out, like, who you can talk to, who you can trust. Like, if I tell this person that, like, I need to eat a cyclic creature, like, are they going to just, like, kill me? Or are they going to help me? Like, trying to figure out who's on your side, I think, has been one of the most interesting things for me as Lita, anyways, is, just, like, I know that in a fight I can count on Sitka. But in anything political or anything that has to do with me being undead, I will keep my arm's distance from her. Because she will throw me under the bus so fast. So fast.
That's funny. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think actually some of the best conversations, roleplay conversations, happen when you're trying to work out information between characters. Like, this character has this information, and this character has this information, and this character has this information. Well, I heard from so-and-so, and trying to figure out what's going on so that you can decide on the best course of action moving forward. Or try and figure out people's motivations or whatever. And it's, I enjoy those conversations a lot. It's like problem solving. It's like murder mystery.
Yeah. Zanny says, guild leaders are a good choice for basic info. If they can't help, they might point you in the direction of someone who does.
Yeah.
Which is a very good idea.
It's kind of why they're there.
Yeah. And speaking to what you said, like trying to figure out like what to do in roleplay action, like we had, what was it, 2 months ago, we had that open house where we were discussing the military strategy of the Tal Segor fight. And originally, I was like, I'm not going to be involved in this because I don't know anything. But I stuck close anyway, and I actually had input, and I had info that other people didn't have, and I was a little surprised. And so it actually was some of the best role-playing that I've had, because I was like, I kind of stepped outside of my comfort zone because I wasn't going to do it. And then I had conversations with a lot of different people. And I was bouncing around the room like, hey, what's your opinion on this? What's your opinion? Like, I said this. Do you agree? Oh, yeah, totally. Like, so it was some of the best role play. And it was literally just trying to come up with a decision of who attacks where and when. And it was, I mean, that makes it sound super simplified, but
it was complicated.
It was complicated, but I was involved in it, and I had a whole lot of fun. Yeah. And that's exactly like you said. All we were doing was trying to figure out what's going to happen next, and it was some of the best roleplay I've had. So,
and props to Plot for running all that and getting all that handled on the back end of things, because there was like 10 different groups of NPCs doing different things, trying to stop this arc glitch from taking over, basically.
And I also love that they've gone above and beyond, and they're like, here's the report that you had the day of. We're now going to give you an expanded report because we've had more information gathered, which has been on the boards. And I've been reading that, like, I've been like, oh, this is cool to know all this extra info, because we got like a brief synopsis the day of, because, we're in the middle of the battle and there's not a whole lot of time to get information back and forth. But now they've actually gone and have taken the extra step of expanding on that, which I super appreciate. Like, they didn't have to do that.
And that helps the players or characters that were not there for that weekend for Talsagor to be caught up on things. Yeah. And that's something that I feel is kind of necessary, is for the players that can't make it a lot of times, someone has to be able to fill them in so they're included and they don't get left behind, per se. And we have a few characters in game that help with that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Immensely.
Yeah, Zyra, who's amazing.
Yep.
She writes down everything.
She's a bookkeeper. Yeah, is the easiest way to say it.
Yeah, she totally is. But
literally.
That's one reason I decided to bond her, is because her information is extremely important.
Yeah.
So.
She's made herself very, very valuable in game and out of game. Like, the stuff that her character does in game
between events.
Between events, the notes that she takes, the updates that she makes, it's just awesome. She does a really, really good job.
Mm-hmm. So you got anything else?
Got a lot of things, but
that you can speak about.
I would say the one thing you want to be careful of if you are a player emissary is you need to learn how to, I'd almost recommend, sympathize with people, don't empathize with people. I know that's kind of a weird distinction, but you're kind of threading the line on both the plot side or staff side versus the player side, and so you need to take in both accounts. And so you kind of have to be able to negotiate on both sides or find a middle ground for that. And empathizing with the player might make you too emotional or too much in one side that you can't see the overarching issue or anything that might be causing that might not be seen from one side or the other.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
Nevitz Gaming says, I love the updates you post. So I have a question. So how much time did you have to devote to being player emissary?
When I first started, a lot. One thing I looked at is what the previous player emissary did and kind of what the role entails. And one of the things I saw was we weren't really getting a lot of feedback from the players outside of one or two people talking to their group of friends that may not have been staff, so it wasn't a broad range. And so what I tried to do, and it kind of fizzled out near the end because I wasn't necessarily getting much feedback, it may have been appreciated, was I sent out newsletters, tried to once a quarter just kind of giving an update, or once a month trying to give an update of what happened in the world for those that may not have been around, what's happening with Mythic Realms outside of plots-related stuff. And then I've also made a few forms on Google Forms, actually, with some incentive to fill that out so we could get it to the right person, so we could hear people's feedback on rules, on monsters, on the plot that's happening, on character stuff. And so, you would get a few mythic points here and there for filling out those forms. And I gave the related people a spreadsheet of the answers with no names on it unless they wanted to add a name. The one thing that I wanted to push was
anonymity.
There we go. And so I kept that up for a while, and I think the forms are still there. I just kind of stopped doing the newsletters. Didn't see much feedback on that, and now that Zyra is doing her almost weekly posts on the forums to keep people in the loop of what's happening, it's not necessary, really.
Yeah. The forums, I think, are just a great wealth of information that can be a little overwhelming at first, but it's definitely useful as you get into it.
See, that's kind of one reason that I haven't gone in and read the World Library is because that's a lot of info to try to absorb all at once, and I'd rather roleplay in-game and get that info from somebody in-game.
So the one thing to know about the World Library is it's got information on the history of the world, but it isn't necessarily recent history.
Yeah.
So if you want to know stuff that's happened in the past or some general stuff about countries and people, go ahead, but anything that's happened within the past few years, you're probably not going to see there.
Yep.
And that's more related to the forums at that point that you'll want to see that information.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have like a current events spot on the forums, which talks about everything kind of after the World Library pretty much. So I like that. I've been reading up on that. I need to respond to a post.
That you were just made aware of this morning?
No, well, that one too. But by the way, Nevitz, check the post. Something fun just happened for us, but or check the forums. But no, with the barbarians, I need to post something.
Yeah, you should. And then also email plot. Do a downtime. Because just saying you're doing it on the forums without informing plot on the back end, like, hey, my character's actually doing that.
I'm gonna have to. Because
it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Can't wait.
Yeah,
So, and one thing that some people may not realize with the current events is that is what the average person hears in the world, not what happens in Northwatch. So it can be distorted. It may not be the full truth. It can be completely inaccurate. But for the most part, it is like reading a newspaper. It's what is happening, but it's not going to give you what we need as characters in Northwatch to be able to act, and then we'll have to dig in for more information.
Right. It can give you breadcrumbs of stuff to look into, but a lot of times it's rumor that gets put in the current events, and so you're like, wait, that doesn't sound right. Like, let me look into this type thing. So.
Nevitz says, I'd like to see more info about more recent NPCs and retired characters on the World Library.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I agree. I would like to see that too, but
it is a lot of work, honestly,
Yeah.
for plot to sit down and type all that up and then get it on there. So, I mean, it is a volunteer position that people dedicate their time outside of work to do. So there is kind of that balancing act of, should we have the World Library be more of a history of sorts or more of current events? And that's kind of the struggle that's happening in that case is they have lives outside of Mythic Realms, so having someone sit down and do that, I mean...
Yeah. Yep, it's hard and it's a lot of work.
well, let's see. Zanny32 says, I think it's up to the players to make up bios about their PCs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you
true.
retire in your PC and it's now a retired PC, or you want to have your current player on the World Library, type up a few paragraphs or whatever you'd like and then email it in and see if they will put that on the forums.
Yeah.
So, how many...
Or, sorry, not World Library, not forums.
Yeah, no, same thing. We get you. But did you have to go to plot meetings, and how often did those... Or not plot, but like staff meetings?
Yes. We have a staff meeting, try to once a quarter unless some emergency comes up and we need to have one sooner. There's also the staff forums. So I try to go to them as much as possible. I've missed, I think, 2 out of 10-ish.
Okay.
Granted, I don't have a whole lot going in my life outside of work and LARP, so I have a lot of free time, so I can make it. But other people have families, jobs that are not friendly for time, so they may not be able to make it. And so we try to have someone have minutes or something like that they can post of what happened.
Yep.
I do avoid plot meetings, though. I put my foot down with Mythic Realms. I'm like, I'm a player. I am not a plot runner.
Yeah.
Because I used to DM, 5 years before Mythic Realms, and I was always the DM. I was never the player. So I'm like, I just want to interact with the world. I don't want to run the world.
Right.
I don't mind doing some one-shots or a casual module that is my own, let's just do this one thing. But I don't want to be integrated with trying to come up with the back end for Northwatch as a whole.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
David says he just read the post. Nice. So I'm excited. That means we have to do some thinking, though. But I'm just asking because I'm kind of considering maybe taking the position up. I don't know. It doesn't sound like it takes too much time, so I don't know if it's something.
I think it's been filled, or we're having a last-minute discussion on the 2 candidates.
Oh, that's
right
great
now.
then.
So
I just didn't know we were that far on it. I thought
Yeah.
I thought everyone was like, "Oh no, I don't want to do that." So but if there's people already, then I'm
Yeah.
totally okay with that.
And it's wrapping up this discussion. I think our next staff meeting will have a person settled.
Nice.
So we should be good in that front.
Oh, that's good then.
Something that we as staff have been working on, getting those empty positions refilled. Because it's creating a lot of stress and tension to not have all of the positions properly.
And it's hard too, just
Filled.
because they're volunteers, so we can't hire someone to do that.
Mhm.
They want to be
Right.
willing, and it's on their time, honestly. So,
Yep.
I mean, each person who does a position will have different levels or different ways to go about that position. So, you won't have another grant filling that position.
Right. It'll be different.
Mhm.
They'll operate in the position differently than you did. So yeah, you can't ever expect the position to look exactly the same from person to person, because it does depend a lot on your time, availability, motivation,
Mm-hmm.
all those things. So, because it is volunteer.
Yep. And that's the hard part with Mythic Realms having so many positions. What are we up to, 14 or 15?
Yeah, we've got a lot of positions.
I mean, we could probably combine a few, but
yeah, there are.
we have an average of 20 to 30 people per week. So it's half of them are doing something related to Mythic Realms.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Or multiple positions for one person. So that's just the difficulty, is if you want to have a lot of nuanced things happening in a LARP group, that's going to be more positions, but then you need more people to be willing to fill that position. So sometimes you might have to try this new position and it won't work out, and maybe cut it back and say, okay, it will be part of this other one, and they'll just occasionally do it, or they could get help to help with that occasionally.
Yep. Yeah, one of the positions that we're considering trimming down, I guess, is the quartermaster. So the quartermaster, right now we have quartermaster, and then we have master at arms, which handles the weaponry, and then we have costume director, which handles the costuming side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And we're considering getting rid of and then the armor director, which handles specifically the metal armor and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're considering getting rid of those 3 lower positions, having just the quartermaster, and then whoever wants to help when they can with those other things, that's awesome, but they're not officially a part of staff. They're just helping because they like the game and they want it to be better.
And sometimes it may get a little bit much for just one person to do, so they could ask people to help
Right.
assist them as the need arises. Like with Master of Arms, we do spurts of needing new weapons, and then they last for X amount of time, and then we need a new one. So there's that middle time between those crafting that there isn't much for them to do outside of occasionally checking to see if a weapon's safe or not. So
Right.
it might be more of a project-based compared to a full position.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, lots of things to consider, and all of this is, we're really trying to create a game that people want to come play.
Mm-hmm.
And that is also enjoyable for the people running it.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big balancing acts, I think, in this whole thing, is trying to make it fun and enjoyable for the people running it as well as the people playing. And I think that's basically right where the Player Emissary sits, is trying to help negotiate that balance.
Yeah, finding the sweet spot from a week-to-week basis, or plot-to-plot basis, and ensuring that some people that may be a little bit more timid get some sort of voice spoken to at least get in the ear, even if something doesn't happen right away. It's, oh yeah, he said this about this one character. When can we fit in something for them? And then put that on the kind of map, the road map for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
As Player Emissary, have you ever explained to anybody about downtime and like pursuing plot and how that works, or?
Yeah, and it's a hard balancing act to do with downtime and between module type of things, because again, that is something for plot to do outside of the normal module, which can take some of their time. So with downtime, it is very much my player does this for the month of March outside of these modules that we're doing every Wednesday. You need to be aware this is a recommendation of your character, not what your character does. Like, my character goes to different taverns to see if there's any rumors happening. Great. My character goes to these taverns to find this one rumor. Maybe not. You need to understand whenever you're deciding what your character is doing for downtime is your character doesn't do this, this, and this. My character wants to do this by trying to do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
So saying my character's trying to find, who kicked all the barbarians into the water when it was trying to be, basically purged from Acheron.
Yeah.
You say my character is going to be going to these taverns or to my contacts at this place and asking about X, Y, and Z, not like my character's going to find out about this and leave it at that. So there's a number of details you need to put in there, but at the same time you need to leave it up to have plot decide the outcome.
Yeah.
Not saying my character does this and this is the outcome. And that's kind of where you need to do it. And if you need help with that, you could go to some of the other people and have them read your downtime and kind of help you tweak it.
I know oftentimes when I write my downtime, I'll say, I'm going to go do this. And if I get this answer, this is what I'm going to do. And if I get this answer, I'm going to do this other thing. All right, one barbarian.
Yeah, that's because he gives his bits to the barbarian. Poor barbarians.
And one thing you need to be aware of is it takes them a little while to get back to you, up to a month. So if you send in the middle of October, you may not get a response from what you did for October till the middle of November. You don't want to start hitting them up a week later saying, hey, where's my answer? Hey, where's my answer? Hey, where's my answer? It's, hey, they need to discuss this. Hey, they need to discuss this. Hey, we need to type this up. Or we need to figure out what the hell we're going to be doing and then get back to you.
Evan says, I didn't realize the importance of downtime until way late. And
it kind of goes down to play style too.
Yeah, some people don't care.
Like, some people are built around downtime.
Yeah.
I know Valeron, my other character, is built around downtime. And, a few of the sneakier people have to be built around downtime because you can't be sneaky while on a module. Well, you can, but getting information between modules is hard without that.
Right, yeah.
And some people is very much a face-to-face type of thing, and that's kind of where weekenders come in, where people could come in and get you information and interactions for that.
Yeah.
That's what Rin was saying last week, is that she's a lot more awesome during downtime, so it makes you think that she's built more for downtime too. I don't know. I may be putting words in her mouth, but that almost seems like what she is. But
she definitely is.
Yeah. So that was fun, but so
good times.
All right.
And I've had things bite me in the butt for Valorant for what I've done in downtime too. I almost took a death because of what happened in downtime. They came in during a weekend and then they basically used a ritual hand of death on me because of what I did during downtime.
Wow.
So it's 5 force obliterates, takes you straight down to your death count. Luckily, I survived, but it was you screwed up during your downtime. Let's talk because we're friends. No, we're not. Here's a hand of death in your face.
Wow.
So there is that kind of thing you need to be careful of too, especially if you're the seedy type or the sneaky type. There is things that can go wrong. It's not always going to go your way, and that's one thing. Is yes, you're heroic, but you're not all powerful.
Right.
You're going to screw up.
You're going to make enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
For sure.
All right. Well,
So there's a couple different ways that you can get responses for downtimes too. So sometimes you'll get it back in an email, and sometimes they'll just talk to you face to face. Sometimes like out of game face to face, and then sometimes they'll just have a NPC come in as a response to your downtime.
or like today, we got a response on the forums, to our down.
Right.
I mean, that was more of a pigeon, which was still during downtime, but I don't know that I've ever seen that before. But
No, that was a forum post that just went to my email. So, and the one thing with that is sometimes they do face-to-face conversations like during open house or between modules or like after a module because it requires some sort of back and forth, a conversation happening for that downtime that you can't replicate easily via email or, Hangout or something else like that. And sometimes when they talk to me face-to-face, I'm like, email that to me too because I'm going to have to reference that.
Yeah.
that's why I have a notebook. Because some of them, I asked that once, and they're like, "Nope, this is it." And I was like, "Okay, oh Lord, I'm writing seriously."
And some people, don't do emails after they talk to you because
It's a lot of work
it's
for them.
kind of
It is a
hard
lot
to
of work.
summarize too because it was a very fluid conversation.
Yep.
So basically, don't say, "In my downtime, I'm gonna go and start poking a bunch of drakes in a cave."
Well, you can, but they're going to come back to you like, "Are you sure you will die if you do this?"
Yeah, pretty much. And you take a death.
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know you could die during downtime. That's cool.
Yes,
it is-
yes, you can.
It can happen, but it is something that plot will say, what you're going to be doing is something that is going to be very dangerous and will probably have repercussions and you could possibly take a death doing this.
Actually,
do
we
you still want to do this?
We actually
Yeah.
had that recently when we did the cleaning up our backyard where we were killing monsters. They asked some pretty specific questions and were like, "This is going to be dangerous depending on which way you go." And so a lot of us were preparing for the possibilities of death during downtime. So I have thought about it before. None of us did die, luckily, but
Yeah, sorry about that. That was a random NPC encounter that I threw in during a weekender of just a monster coming in, and more or less it was a poltergeist, a spirit ghost that came in and was possessing people and blaming them for their death because they weren't cleaning their backyard. So if someone actually died from that, I'd be like, sorry.
no, we actually found, I think it was some drakes.
Oh, really? In our backyard?
Mm-hmm.
Man, Banner, stop that.
Right? Banner. It's totally his fault.
Yep, I honestly think the only reason we survived is because we had Boji and Crow.
Boji. What a tattletale.
The Tattletale Barbarian.
All right. So any more player emissary stuff, or should we move on to magic?
That's about it. You just need to kind of get a feel for how your modules are normally ran and kind of get the expectation of player to player. And some of them, they're fine with whatever. And you're like, okay, I don't have to worry about you. You'll just roll with whatever's happening. But then others are like, you need to fine tooth comb to ensure that they're at least being heard. And it does vary from a LARP group to LARP group, kind of what that details, because Mythic Realms is a story-based LARP, so there is going to be plot there. We do a lot of monster stuff because it's hard to run a weekly event of pure plot over and over. So there's going to be fighting. So you need to find that balancing act. And so that's just kind of how that is.
Yep.
All right. Well, can you pull up the website and go to the rule book and go to... Is Arcana first or Mystic?
Magic. The best part. Which do you want to talk about first? We could probably talk about whichever
one is first in the rule book. Which one is first, Arcana or Mystic?
I don't know.
Core rule book?
Yeah, core rule book. So basically we're just going through and reading the skills and describe what they do.
Arcanist, because it is alphabetical. No, it is not. I lied. It is Arcanist, then Mystic, then Fighter, then Rogue.
Okay, that's not that. So go to Arcanist first. So Arcanist is like... yes, we do need to find a wielder for the Summer Sword. Yeah, that's what I was saying, is we need to have a discussion, and that was the discussion. Is we need to find a wielder for that, because that is cool. I was just going to be
Don't
like...
make it Timmy. Get it away from
No,
me.
he's giving it to us.
Good.
That's what the thing basically said, is that we have to basically continue to keep it empowered, so someone's going to have to like bond it to themselves and do something to empower it, which I think is going to happen this week. But we need to find a wielder for it. So me and Pochi have to have some conversations now.
Okay.
So I may be, what time is your... And Airstar needs to sign up. I do need to sign up for the event. I will now, especially since I was named in the teaser for the event. I better be there.
I'm going to have to switch mine over to Valoron from Kovac because it is related to something that he would help you with.
Yeah. So, all right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to read them and explain them. And since neither one of us really do this...
Yeah.
But you...
This is all you.
It is my
I'm
specialty as
well,
Valoron.
especially as... Well, not only that, but you're
Break
now
this
making
chair.
characters, so you need to be versed in
Totally
all the
back.
skills. So I thought, what the heck? Let's do it. So we have plenty of time.
Arcanist is more or less your normal type of wizard player. When you think of wizard or mage, it is an Arcanist. They do the elemental stuff. They do, the time and space and, all of those type of things like evocation, like in D&D. Actually, it's basically the wizard class in D&D.
Wizard and sorcerer, basically.
And so that is what an Arcanist is. They obviously go about that in a few different ways. Have you talked about any of the combat classes yet, or is this the first time we're diving
No.
into
We talked about fighter and thief.
Yeah, fighter and rogue.
That was
Rogue or thief?
rogue.
Sorry.
We didn't talk about
breaker now.
We didn't talk about the class. We just talked about the. What are these called? They're not classes. They're just
Talents.
talents.
They're kind of the foundation of what your character is.
Evan says thanks, Valoron. Thanks, Valoron, for helping us.
For what?
Because you
Coming
said
on
you're going to
Wednesday.
switch
Oh,
over
yeah.
from Kovac to Valoron.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's just my duty,
Yeah,
and because I want to help.
good. I need my
Sometimes.
bonds there.
So, Arcanist, the main one you'd see with Arcanist, and some people like to try to switch it up, not have this at-will type of casting, is the elemental spell casting. And this is kind of where you get into the stereotypical wizard type of thing, where on a 5 count, so I summon fire, I summon air, or I summon earth or water, 1, I summon water 2, I summon water 3, up to 5, you would then throw a spell packet with a damage type. So burn you 3, burn you 4, shock you, whatever. And that is kind of the basis to that. And you get that as soon as you pick up this skill. It is thrown through a spell packet, which is, shredded rubber wrapped in a cloth. You can't swing it. You can't punch someone in the face with it. Granted, you can get close to their face and then let go of the packet and hit them. But you can't actually
Hit them with the packet in your hand. Unless you just go whack.
You really shouldn't, but we're kind of loose on tapping someone. In a combat
Yeah.
situation, we don't recommend that because people are jumping around and you put your hand up to their body, it's going to probably end up punching them.
Yep.
But like if you're between things and you need to really tap someone because you're hitting them with something very quickly, that's fine. But as soon as it turns to combat, I would highly recommend start throwing them.
Let go.
Yeah. And so elemental spellcasting. The first part is literally at will spellcasting, like I discussed. From there, it gets kind of interesting. Unlike the other skills, which at level 1, level 5, level 10, so forth, you get per battle uses. Elemental spellcasting at level 1, 5, 10, you get to choose one of 3 options. So the first option is the strike, or burst. Sometimes you'll see it listed as burst. And it's a empowered spell, basically. It is typically used in a 3-packet format that you get once per battle, of your base spell casting at will damage plus X amount. I think at the starting it is plus 3.
Yeah. It's plus 3 for 3 packets.
Yeah, so instead of burn you 2, you're doing burn 5, burn 5, burn 5. And that's
Or plus 6 for 1 packet.
I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
So another good thing about the burst, even though it's once per battle, is you don't have to sit there on a 5 count, because the one thing with counting with spells is it gets interrupted if you get hit, unless you have a special ability that doesn't let you get interrupted. So if you're on your 3 and then someone hits you, you have to start over. With the burst, you're simply ice summon fire to burn you 5, burn you 5, burn you 5, or burn you whatever. So, and it can't get interrupted even between those 3 packets. So you get like ice summon fire to burn you 3, and someone's hitting you, like burn you during that. So that is quite useful. And you can actually hold it for a little while between them. I think it's 3 seconds. So it's like I burn you 5, and you're running away for a few seconds, and you turn around and throw another packet at them, and then you keep on running. The alternative to that, which I don't see used too often, just because on a damage output wise it's better to do 3 packet, is the single packet version. So it's a single larger damage. So it's in plus 6 instead of plus 3 of a single. So if your base is 3, you'd be saying burn you 9 once. And it just follows the same rules of it's not a 5 count.
Yeah, so for those who listened, were listening and watching in when we did the Fighter and Rogue, this is basically the caster version of weapon proficiency.
Yeah.
Or backstab.
Yep. And so one thing to note about both Elemental and Mystic Spellcasting is each time you hit one of those key points, 1, 5, 10, you could choose any of these 3 that I'm going to be talking about. You don't have to choose the same one and stuck in that for all of them. So I could choose, burst for level 1, and then when I hit level 5, I could use heightened strike, and then so forth, as you put more skill points towards that. The next one I want to talk about is heightened strike, and this is a increase to the damage you get with your burst or strike. So typically it's a plus 3 for a 3 packet or plus 6 whenever you do a strike. If you choose the heightened strike option, you will get a plus 4 on all of your 3 packets and an extra plus 8. So instead of doing a plus 3 of burn you 6, burn you 6, burn you 6, you add an extra 4 on that. So it is a burn you 10, burn you 10, burn you 10 at that point. So an extra 12 points.
People do that. I'm like,
yes.
Dang.
But it does take up one of your abilities to do the burst. So sometimes people would rather have 6 burn you 6s instead of 3 burn you 10s. It is up to you, and then it also increases your 1 packet by plus 8. So instead of a plus 6, you're doing a plus 14 for that 1 packet. So it can get pretty high, and if you're a character that is you're not a marathon fighter, you jump in there, a marathon spellcaster, you jump in there a little bit and you back off and you go back to like healing or defensive type of stuff, you can pick this strike and then start heightening it. So you could get that one burn you 12, burn you 12, burn you 12. And you're like, okay, I'm done, and now I'm going to go back to helping people. Sometimes, you can take heightened strike at level 1, but it's useless if you only have level 1 because you don't have any bursts at level 1. So it is kind of dependent on if you can actually use that strike or burst.
I hate to throw a lot of spell packets because then I have to pick them up.
It's a true story, bro.
You should totally pay someone in game to pick it up for you. We're rolling in the money and people do anything for a copper.
I believe that is Zisto.
Zisto.
Yeah, it looks like his.
Picking up spell packets is...
And that's the downside of a spellcaster is you have to deal with the cleanup of your spells afterwards.
Especially when it's dark. It's very difficult.
And so,
yes.
And that can be a reason why you do the single packet instead of the 3 packet, or you do the heightened strike on top of your once a battle strike. So you're not cleaning up 6 to 9 to 12 packets. You're cleaning up 3 of extra damage.
Right.
Well, welcome to the stream, by the way, Mechardon. I appreciate you being here. Or Zisto. Thank you.
And then the third option is just to do a static increase to your at-will. So the strike and the heightened strike don't really affect your at-will 5-count spell casting. It is a base 3...
Base
2.
Yeah, base 3 points. So if you're doing at-will and you just like to keep that stream of occasional damage happening throughout a fight and pick up all the spell packets...
He's at 3. He's confirming.
Okay. It looked like a :3. I'm like, oh, is that an emoji?
No.
So you could instead choose to do that +1 static increase. And all that does is, instead of doing 3s, you now do 4s at all times. It doesn't give you any per battle bursts or anything else like that. And so that is kind of an alternative you can do there. Some people really like to hammer on the +1 bonus and do that constant one because there are runes you can choose and abilities that actually shorten that. Eldritch Soul, I think, reduces your count by 1, so you're doing 4 count instead of 5 count. And there's ways to not interrupt that, so you can really go that route, and some people do strikes. And so that is more or less elemental spellcasting, just like weapon proficiency and backstab at level 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. You do get bonus uses, logistics of the burst strike ability. So once a logistics, you can do a strike. So if you want to do level 1 heightened strike, then get it up to level 3, you'll have 2 logistical uses of a heightened strike if you really want to.
Yep.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Nevitt says, hire the young adventurers to pick up the packets.
They're good at that.
Also, I have to do this, so Mechardon is a subscriber.
Woo!
So we have to do the subscriber dance. Oh, yeah. I told him I would do this. Yeah, I told him I would do this, too. Because he was like, I subscribe to you. So I told him I would do the dance.
Who else subscribed?
There you go. She just replayed it. Which means that now Lone Star's going to really have to heal himself. Let's see. I think I might have wasted my silver on much less lucrative ventures. That's funny. So, yeah. Who else is
the
a
tavern
subscriber?
food is a waste.
We have Mr. Cheyenne is a subscriber.
Do we have to dance for that too?
No, we've already done that. We had Winged Vox that was a subscriber. Let's see, not enough clanking in that dance. Yeah.
When we're trying to sneak and then you walk by, you ruin it all.
Oh my gosh, trying to walk through that bat cave in this armor without waking up the bats was so hard.
During the Tal Segura?
Yeah, I was like... Yeah, it was so hard. I did it though.
RIP audio only podcast. Yeah, we're gonna have to.
Her fault.
Yeah, we're gonna have to change the volume levels on that for sure because people might have headphones on and then they're gonna be deaf and they're not gonna be very happy with us. So.
Sorry, guys. My bad.
Are you?
No, actually.
I mean, I did
blame
say that we're
Zisto.
gonna be. Oh, you blame Zisto for subscribing? Don't blame him for subscribing though. I want people to subscribe. But anyway.
So that's the basic of elemental spellcasting. That's kind of the one, like, oh, I want to be a wizard, I want to be a spellcaster. You would normally pick that up because it does give you the ability to do something throughout all of combat, whereas a lot of these other skills is a kind of a one use per battle type of use.
Yep.
Use.
One use per battle
shut
type
up.
of use. use.
So the next one I want to talk about is Grant Dodge and Grant Parry.
Which is one spell.
Yes. Basically get one a battle, you choose either Grant Dodge or Grant Parry when you cast it. It is a time and space spell, so it is a slightly different subclass of Arcanist. And basically, you can give someone else the defensive ability of a bonus parry or bonus dodge. it just does mean the player, if they have other ways to do that bonus defensive ability, they can't really stack that. But if they have a per battle use of dodge or parry, they can then get that bonus one. It's great to give to someone who typically doesn't have defenses, especially if they have a shield.
Yep.
Yay, Nevitz Gaming just subscribed. Woo! I better get closer so I'm on the screen. Yay! Since you are staying on Twitch. Well, thank you for that, Nevitz.
So you have to stay on Twitch now.
I was going to switch, but I was going to switch from Twitch.
So it's the caster who chooses whether it's grant dodge or grant parry at the time of the casting. You don't just give it to someone. They're like, oh no, I want parry. So one of the downsides, if you do have this ability, is to actually communicate to the people you're giving it to ensure that they can actually use it, because if they're raging, they can't use it. If they have a bonus use already on them, it's kind of useless, especially if it's a temporary one. So it does require that, and if you do give it to someone like, oh, I can't use that, you're out of luck, SOL, because you just wasted it.
Yep.
Now, I know this is going to be a question that some people have. Can you cast it on yourself?
Oh hell yeah. I sometimes do that. It's fine. Some people are like, oh, well, that's selfish of them. You're just like, I have the ability. I'm going to be doing this. I get to decide.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it just kind of comes down to your way of play. You can easily get the parry skill and a grant parry skill, so you have that 2 battle parry plus that extra third one without spending all those extra points. Granted, grant parry, grant dodge is not cheap.
Yeah.
But it's not the most expensive thing.
When he says cheap, he's talking about the skill points
Yes.
that are required to buy it. So,
Yeah.
Microdom says all the time.
Well, that's Zisto.
Alright, so now Elemental Sheath.
Yep. Elemental Sheath or Spell Power. Just like Grant Parry, Grant Dodge, this is a either or at the time of casting. Just like the others, at level 1, 5, 10, etc., you get a battle use of it. But it is more in line with elemental spellcasting in the sense of at 1, 5, or 10, you could actually choose either to get another battle use of the sheath, or you could actually increase the damage of the sheath. So instead of having 2 per battle elemental sheath X, you can do once a battle elemental sheath X with an extra 3 on it or something like that. So normally you'd grab someone's weapon and you have to apply this to a weapon. You can't just touch them on the head. And you'll like, I summon fire to elemental sheath. I summon fire to fire sheath plus 3, or fire sheath 3. Or I summon air to air sheath 3, or something like that.
Right.
So you decide at that time which element. But there is the ability, if you do the increase, you could actually, so if you are level 5, you could do once a battle sheath, and then at 5 you do the empower, the increasing it. You actually then get the alternative use of magic sheath. So you could actually, for those swings, which when you do apply a sheath or empower spell to someone, it is the next 3 swings or spells that is damaging will get a bonus to it. So if I normally swing for 2 normal, because I'm a base fighter and someone gives me a fire sheath 3, I now swing for the next 3 swings of 5 flame. Thank you.
Yeah, 5 flame.
But one caveat is you don't necessarily have to swing the damage type. I can instead do 5 normal.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. And that just kind of comes down to the ability to decide which damage type you're swinging at any given time, as long as you can swing that. So if I have a magic weapon, I could technically swing for magic or normal at any time.
Right.
But with the fire sheath, now it's magic, normal, or flame. Granted, if you don't use that flame, it is still getting used up for those next 3 swings. So instead, if I do 5 normal, 5 normal, 5 normal, you still use those flame sheath 3.
Right.
Because you're still taking that damage increase.
Now, isn't there a time limit on it? You can only do it within 5 minutes?
5 minutes. So if you're just done with combat and someone gives it to you, if there's no combat within the next 5 minutes, you lose it. And so that's kind of the downside to that. The alternative use is Empower Spell, and this is where you target a person, not a weapon. And basically, you give them Power Spell X. And the incant for that is I summon time and space to empower spell X. And this is kind of where you get into the damaging, either at will spell casting or the burst gets an extra bonus on top of that. So if I have a burst, if I use my burst of 3 packet with that extra +3, and then someone gives me Empower Spell 3, your next 3 packets, that burst is going to be +6 instead of 3.
Nice.
So instead of 2 burn you 2, it's now burn you 8, burn you 8, burn you 8. So that is one thing to note too. I typically do see this skill used as a sheath just because of the benefit of swinging that damage type. Because when you do have that fire sheath, air sheath on you, when you do a killing blow or death blow, you could use that element.
Yeah.
So when we're fighting trolls and no one has a flame weapon, you can
Flame sheath
someone, and then they could do that killing blow or death blow on that troll to make sure it doesn't come back up. And there is a rune equivalent of this too that some people tend to have on them for like flame sheath 5 runes that does the same effect.
Nevitz Gaming says I picked up Grant Perry Dodge with his other character, his Bromerai.
His Bromerai.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The one we haven't seen in a while.
Of which, I've had so much work to do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we had reasons for not playing them though. So.
Okay.
But.
So that is sheaths and empower spell. The next one is an elemental based ability. It is repel you and trip you. This is a crowd control just like the fighter rogue version of repel and trip.
So good.
It is thrown instead of swung, so it can't really be blocked with a weapon, which makes it nice. And it is simply I summon air to repel you like a big gust of wind and you take 10 steps back, or I summon earth to trip you and they just take a knee for 10 seconds. Unless they really want to roleplay, falling face first into the ground or something like that. Wouldn't recommend that in the middle of combat.
Yeah.
And
But it can be a fun role play if you're not in the middle of combat.
yeah. And that's basically all this is. Repel you, trip you. Again, it has to be a spell pack. It can't be swung. The fighter rogue version is the swung version, and it's just repel and trip. And so the keyword there is the U at the end of it. So if you felt yourself getting hit and you don't know if it's swung or not because it's from behind, if you hear repel you, assume it's a spell and call your defenses as necessary. And if you just repel, assume it's a weapon unless they correct you.
Yep.
And again, the repel you, just like the repel skill, it is away from the person who hit you with it, not away from where they hit you.
Yep.
So
Any direction directly away from the person. So the person is here, any direction directly away from that person.
it is, if you're here, you have to go exactly away from them. So you can't choose a direction off to the side. So if someone's behind you and hits you with a repel you have to go into the group kind of thing. Directly away from them.
Right, directly away from them.
Yeah. You kind of did that weird.
Well, yeah, because that's still directly away from them. Doesn't matter. This was something that we talked about.
When we went to Rome.
Yeah, when we went to Rome. So they said repel just has to be directly away from them in any direction. It just has to be away from them. So
And I may be wrong.
So it's because sometimes people will be like, "Oh, repel," but there's a tree right here, so I'm just going to sit here and run into this tree and actually not go anywhere.
You have to go around obstacles. That's just kind of part of repel.
Right.
And repel you go around obstacles, but it is away from the person.
Yeah.
And safety is necessary. So if you're against the edge of a river or stream, you go along the edge of the stream, even though that may be sideways. Unless you want to jump into the stream. That's up to you if you want to play that.
Which a few people have done. Not intentionally, though.
So, again, that goes back to safety.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways, like taking a knee, sometimes that may not be safe in the middle of a crowded combat in, Castle of Chaos or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
You just kind of squat a little bit, but kind of protect yourself versus taking a knee. Or if there's, we're fighting on a campsite and there's probably glass laying around and you don't have knee pads or anything like that, don't take a knee.
I should have done that on the Talsabro Weekender because I ripped the knees in my pants, and every time I went down, all those twigs, my knees were bleeding by the end of the Weekender, and I was like, I should have not gone down on my knee.
I recommend knee pads, either gel or the BMX or something like that. Necessary, unless you have nice greaves that cover up your knees.
Nevitz Gaming says, he's going to be my primary character after I retire Boji.
If you ever retire him.
Yeah, he will. He's waiting on me, though.
So slow.
I mean,
get your shield.
Slow.
I don't want to retire as soon as I get the shield. Like, that would be boring. Like, I want to be able to use the shield for at least a little bit.
Once or twice.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No.
Once or twice.
No, man, that's going to be... Let's see. I do play him on occasion, and he says, I recommend not fighting.
Run away.
Fighting is fun. Mosh pitting is not.
Yeah.
Slight difference there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
true.
that happens
So
more often than not sometimes lately.
Well, it happens a lot in Castle. Because
you just have to kind of build your module around the location. Like for the winter, if you're in Castle, it's a lot of corridor fighting, so it's hard to keep a lot of people engaged unless you have other things happening that someone can run.
Yep.
Another NPC can marshal or something like that.
Yep. You usually end up getting flanked.
Mm-hmm. Which
So
is
that-
good.
Yeah, so that the people in the back have something to do rather than just walking and talking the whole time because the people in front are taking care of everything.
The next one is the other two elements. So there was air and earth. This one is a crowd control for water and fire. Granted, fire is not crowd control. It is freezer limb and fire burst. And again, this is kind of, you choose at the time of your casting. You don't choose when you buy it. The first is freeze your limb. And it is, I summon water to freeze your right limb, freeze your left limb. You have to, your right arm, your left arm, your right leg, your left leg. You have to call it when you do the spell. So it is a longer incant based off of the others. So I summon water to freeze your right limb. One thing to note with weapons and shields, if they freeze your shield arm or your weapon arm, if you get hit on that weapon or shield, you take the damage.
Yep.
It's just like a maim,
Yep.
Well, except with maim, you're supposed to drop the weapon.
if you can.
Yeah, if you can.
Granted,
but you're
if
not
you-
supposed to drop your shield.
You can. If it's a punch shield, you can, as long as it's not going to get in the way of combat.
Yeah, if it's a small enough shield, yes. But the big thing is the safety tripping
Yeah.
hazards.
Then again, some shields are strapped, so you don't drop them because taking off the strap.
That's
is
why I
useless.
like this shield. If I let go of it, it's not going anywhere because we strapped it so that it is tight. So
It don't move.
even when I'm unconscious and I'm not supposed to be holding it, I'm not holding it, but it's coming with me wherever they drag me. So
Exactly.
super handy.
So that's the one thing you want to be aware of when you do freeze your limb is you're taking damage through that shield if they hit you with freeze your left arm, if you're a left-handed shield wielder.
Which most people.
Yeah. And I do want to try to switch it up once and see how badly I do, which will probably be very badly. The alternative to this is called Fire Burst, and this is the kind of the only damaging spell in the base arcane outside of the elemental spellcasting. And so this is a mass packet, which is up to 10 packets, either in one or both hands. So you could throw them all out in both hands, or if you just want to do one hand. And you do burn you 5. So I summon fire to fire burst, burn you 5. And then you throw out the spell packets. And so any people get hit by the spell packets takes a burn you 5, whether friend or foe. So if someone gets hit in the back of the head, because you're throwing it from the back of the group, they should be taking the burn you 5.
Yeah.
Granted, if you get hit with multiple packets, you only take one instance of that burn 5. So I can't unload all 10 into your chest and assume you take burn you 50 from those 10. It is a single burn you 5.
See, that is something I did not know until we talked about it recently in another one, because there was sometimes someone did like a dragon breather one, and I got hit with like 3 of them, and I took all 3 and went down. But if it had only been the one, I actually would have survived. Like
Surviving a dragon breath. That's impressive.
it was something like that. It was like a dragon's
I guess if
burst
it was
or
a
something.
Drake, that's
I don't.
more
It was.
down.
It was last. I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but it was a burst packet, and I was like, I just took 3 of those. Ow!
Yep.
They were like burst 10, and I was like, that's 30 damage. I am down. But I had my armor on, and if it was only 10, I would have still been alive by like 3 hit points, but I'd have still been alive.
Yeah. So that's the one thing to be aware of with any mass packets of anything. If you see someone throwing multiple packets at once, it's considered a mass packet. If it's a multi-packet, kind of like a 3-packet ability, like lightning, force lightning, which is a very rare ability, which is force shock you 33 times. They have to do it force shock you 30, force shock you 30, force shock you 30. They have to say each one individually so you know that they're separate.
Right.
But that's kind of the difference. If you only hear the call once and you get hit with multiple packets, it's a mass packet. If you hear the call multiple times, it is a multi-packet, a number of packets. So you have to take them each.
Yep.
The nice thing with mass packet, if you have the free hand, so it's not good with the shield. If you have them both in your hand, you actually throw them 2 separate directions. They don't have to be in the same direction. So you could throw it behind you, in front of you, to the left and right, anything like that, as long as there's only 10 packets.
Yep. No more than 10.
Yep.
You can do less than 10 if you want.
You could do 1 if you really want to. Like, you're fighting one person, I don't want to have to pick up those 5 to 10 packets. Take 1,
Right.
as long as you know you're going to hit them.
Right.
Nevitz says, I may not play Boji as much this winter because of hallway fights. And then he says he reduces maims, no dropping my hammer for the win.
Yep. So some classes and some abilities give you the option to not drop your weapon. Instead, you just kind of go limp noodle with your weapon in your hand. And so that's always the benefit, because after the 10 seconds, you have the weapon in your hand instead of picking it up after 10 seconds. What you can always do if you do a one-hand fighter and you don't have anything on your offhand is, if you drop your weapon, pick it up with your other hand and start swinging with your left hand, because only one hand is maimed. It's not the weapon that is maimed, it is the hand. Granted, you can't just drop the weapon into your other hand when you get maimed, because you have to drop it on the ground and then pick it up.
Yep.
It does also freeze your limb. Obviously, it's not a maim in this case, so it'd be stuck in your hand. Two-handed weapons kind of suck with maim and freeze your limb, just because, especially with freeze your limb. If you got maimed with a two-handed weapon, you can still block with one hand. That's perfectly fine. But if you get frozen your limb with two-handed weapon, one of your hands that's gripping the weapon is frozen there, so you have a lot less play. You can't move your hand with your other hand. It is frozen in place, and you can't really
move it.
Yeah.
You could walk. You'd have to move your whole body.
But again, that comes into the play of the damage is done through your weapon with that frozen hand. Two-handed is kind of iffy. I've never really thought about if one of your arms gets frozen with a two-handed weapon and you have both hands on it, because your other hand, will it be able to kind of absorb the shock of the damage kind of thing? So that's something I'll have to look into.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Levitt says you can keep it in the other hand, but you can't use it to attack.
Yeah.
And Mechadom just subscribed again for a second month in a row. So, RIP headphone users. Woo! Okay, that wasn't as loud.
You
Be
could
quiet this time.
subscribe for multiple months. I thought it was once, and you're good.
No.
Oh.
You can subscribe
It's every
1
month.
and then next
Unless you have
month.
because Miss Cheyenne, your Amazon Prime is for like multiple months. And so when she subscribes, it covers all the months of her Amazon Prime. So there's Amazon Prime
You mean
subs.
Twitch Prime?
Well, Amazon owns.
Yeah. If you have Amazon Prime, you can
Subscribe
basically
with
get
Twitch.
Prime.
You can get Twitch Prime through Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Ah.
So there's Twitch subs, and then there's Amazon Prime, Twitch Prime subs. Yeah.
It
All
gets
right.
complicated.
So
Just
Amazon.
connect your Amazon account and you're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So, but thank you for that, Zisto. I appreciate that. That's all
There's-
Mechadom, but I know him as Zisto, so that's what I'm gonna call him. So,
He's got a great last name. I just have to say that much.
yeah.
Not Zisto, the player himself.
Oh.
But the nice thing with Fireburst, which a lot of people don't use because it's only Benny 5 and it's a waste of the whole ability, is there's a lot of customization you could do with Fireburst through other things. There's a lot of artificing stuff that increases the damage from Fireburst 10 to Fireburst 10, 20, 5 to 10, or I think there's an elusive that makes it 15 or 20. But then there's also alternatives to do. I summon Earth to Earth Burst, Air Burst, stuff like that, so you could actually change up the element too. So it is much more flexible than the others to kind of customize, whereas you can't really customize Repel You. I think there may be an artificing that lets you double pack it at once or so. But the only other one that has that kind of customization is elemental spellcasting, but even then it is more or less increasing the damage of that.
Yeah.
Or reducing the count or making that type of stuff.
Making it uninterruptible.
So honestly, Fireburst has, I think, the most customization of the Arcanist spells.
That's pretty cool.
So let's see. I summon Earth to burn you? Question mark. Is that
So
what
when
you
I
said?
say maybe, like I summon Earth to Earth Burst, Stone You 5.
Earth Burst.
Oh, okay. I didn't
That's
know
kind of
you
what
could-
it means. So you could
you
do
could
Air
do-
Burst,
oh, okay.
Ice Burst, or Water Burst. I actually don't know which one it is. So you could change the element up to actually make it any of them through an artificing item. I don't know how cheap or expensive it is, but it is an option.
So just real quick, everyone that is subscribed, normally there are subscriber specific emotes that only subscribers can use. I have finally decided what one of my emotes is going to be. It's going to be my shield.
Yeah, nice.
So apparently it's really easy. I just have to take a picture and we can just turn it into an emote, like super easy. So,
awesome.
but I have more than 15 points now, so I can have another emote. So I need ideas. So give me some ideas, people. Maybe it'll just
Emailing
be...
the shield out? What?
What?
Emotes.
Oh, emotes.
Emote.
I heard
So
email.
people can just-
So I was like, why would you want to email your shield?
No. So people can just type in chat my
No,
shield. Just
that
have
makes
some
more
fun
sense.
with it. So, you know, I don't know. That's just what I came up with. So that's what we're... Anyway, just so you all know, just
That's awesome.
Well, didn't you say you are changing out your shield, though? Yes, but for now, that's going to be down the road.
It's still a nice shield.
Yeah, it's still a nice shield. So, made by this wonderful person right here. Dude, it actually looks really good on camera right now. Like, where you're sitting, the lines go like, they're like, look at Kovac, or look at him. Like, literally, it's great. So,
Yeah, from my angle, he has the crown over his head, which is great because your head is
teammate.
like right in front of the falcon.
yeah, it works. It looks really good. Like, I was worried that he was just going to cover it all up. I didn't know how, because this is the first time we've had
Not
someone.
that big.
No, I didn't mean that. I just meant because of how I had it positioned. But I have it high enough that it works out great. But yeah, speaking of Spring Warrior, where are we at on my theme song? I'd like to thank Ascendance Gaming Center for letting us film this here. I guess you could say
Thank
that.
you.
We're at Ascendance Gaming Center. So it's kind of a lounge gaming center. You can do VR, do PC gaming, general hangout spot. We have some board games. We have some retro consoles that you can play as well. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to bring back the feel of 80s arcades. You know, everyone would meet at the arcade and they'd have a good time, and that would be like the hangout spot. All the equipment's provided. We have top of the line PCs. You can log into your own services via Steam or Origin. You play any of those, download your own games and play them on our computers, and you're good to go. And we have a selection of VR games, about 600 or something games available. Every Monday we have a Smash tournament, a Super Smash Bros. Melee, and then once a month they do a monthly tournament. We're also hosting a CSGO tournament now, and we're doing a Hearthstone tournament and a Beat Saber tournament.
Theme song.
She gave him the stink eye. I think that's a don't talk about this.
So, yeah, he says I should have a theme song to, what is it, like some kind of 80s rock, he said it should be? Because I'm the Spring Warrior now, because I've been bonded to spring.
I'm going to have to do some looking for your starter music for that one.
Yeah, it needs to be 80s rock, he says.
It's hilarious.
So, anyway,
K-pop.
K-pop.
You gotta have a dance with it.
Yeah, no.
I don't know.
Yeah, no. Let's not. Put a kibosh on this.
So that's the base level abilities for Arcanist. Then we get into the Force abilities, which have we talked about how Force works in Mythic Realms?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So just like the others, you get one level of Force if you want to pay for it, equivalent to 100, your skill points divided by 100. So you get one every 100 skill points. And the cost does go up every time, so you'll be putting more and more of that amount towards it. And you can only use half rounded up per battle, per short rest.
Yep.
So for Arcanist, you get 3 different abilities that you can use. The first is Force Holocaust, which is a giant, more or less, fireball that you throw at a single guy. So I guess it'd be more like not like the D&D fireball, because that is a area effect. It is a single packet Force Burn you 100, and just like Force abilities, you will need a sidestep for it if you want to dodge it, which sidestep does follow the same type of Force rules to where you can only use half rounded up per battle, but it is not restricted by your skill point level. So you can have 3 sidesteps at 100 skill points. That's fine. You can use 2 within one battle, and then you have 1 extra one. They do not come back during a short rest. So you only have the amount per the logistics of the skill level. And that's simply, I summon Fire to Holocaust Force Burn E100. Then the other option is Earthquake, and this is a mass packet just like Fire Burst. So it's I summon Earth to Earthquake 40, Force Stony 40, and it is a mass packet of up to 10 of Force Stony 40, so much better than Fire Burst. And then there is the time and space ability, Force Anticipate Blow, and this gives you a bonus use of a sidestep, just like Grant Parry, Grant Dodge. Force Anticipate Blow is a Grant sidestep.
Nice.
But it does use that Force ability.
You're basically giving a Force ability to somebody else. Or yourself, I guess.
More or less.
Being selfless.
You're trading damage for defense.
Hi, new person.
So Never Say says Iron Maiden presents Spring Warrior. And then Kovac says there's a ritual fireball, but that's later. And Zisto. Sorry, Kovac is right here. Zisto. And then Crow. That's Crow who says, "Hey guys."
It is.
It is.
And then Nevid says hi, and Zisto says hi, and I said hi apparently.
Hi.
You did not.
Hi.
She did.
She did for you.
She did for me, yes. So, but hello, welcome to the stream, Crow. Nice to have you.
Thanks for the bits.
And thanks for the bits right off. Yes, they are. They're called bits.
Okay.
Woo! Thanks for the bits. Woohoo! Yeah, we dance for bits and we dance for subs, and we just get generally excited for.
I'm staying in my chair though.
Yeah.
So that is the Arcanist combat abilities, and that was kind of a long talk about that. So Mystic will be a little bit faster since we kind of have the bases down for spells and how spellcasting kind of works. So the next thing I want to talk about is the Arcanist utility skills. And utility skills, unlike combat skills, is you get logistical uses. You don't get any battle uses. Some of them are kind of role play or other things like that, but there really, I don't think, are any. They're either at will because they're not really something to be used in combat, or they're logistical. So the first is a specialty of Arcanist, and this means if you're not an Arcanist and you get this one, you'll have to be paying extra for it. And this is Phase Transcend Physical. So again, like the others, you get to choose whenever you cast it. Phase, basically, I summon time and space to phase. This basically locks you in place. You cross your arms to signify you're phased. And you do not take damage to anything, period. Outside of natural effects, like you phase and an avalanche comes and takes you away, you die still. You can't phase through the avalanche or through falling or stuff like that. But any swung damage, any force, or even any rituals outside of specific ones that target this type of thing is no effect. So it is a very much get out of jail. I phase in place if something's going to blow up and you take no damage. The things that get you out of it is negate ethereal, negate magic, and then rituals that do that similar negating type of effect. And then for that, obviously, you can use a defense, but then you also break phase at the same time. So if someone hits me with a negate ethereal while I'm phased, I could say dodge, but I'm no longer phased, but I didn't get hit with the negate ethereal, so I can phase again. Granted, we'll talk about negate ethereal and negate magic a little bit later.
Snickering Girl says bravo on your chainmail servo. Thank you for that. Thank you. I didn't make all of it though. Yes, and everyone likes to pet it. I was over here earlier too. I was over here petting it earlier too. It just feels so awesome, but it looks awesome too.
It does.
This is the first time I've worn it since like episode 1 or 2 because of my broken wrist. So, plus it's way more comfortable to not wear it, but it doesn't look as cool.
I'm regretting this decision a little bit.
Well, now I'm discovering another reason to shave my beard, as we discussed earlier. It's actually rubbing on
the gambeson.
And it's starting to like. So that's another reason to shave. On my gorget.
What if you undo this top thing?
That might help a little bit, but let's see. Don't pet yourself on the stream. There may be children watching. Oh man,
it's fine.
It's just like a puppy.
it's like a.
So one thing concerning phase and transcend the physical that we kind of frown upon is mimicking it without using the ability, because both phase and transcend the physical does kind of require you to do a physical thing of crossing your chest, like mummies whenever they get entombed, to signify you're using this ability. Some people, and I don't like this, they act like they're phased when they're not phased. So monsters kind of ignore them because they're like, oh, they're phased, or other things do that, because that's kind of the representation of the physical effect of you kind of shunting out of this plane halfway. So my recommendation is, if your LARP groups or any that you come to have any
physical representation,
yeah, there we go, of an ability, don't mimic it unless you get their direct approval. Like, hey, if you have to do this dance, use this one ability. Can I do the dance without using the ability, just to kind of throw someone off? They could say yes or no, because you may not know that dance unless you actually have the ability or phase and kind of thing there. Just because it is partially imagination, we sometimes need physical representations to represent certain things like phasing. So when you're phased, you can't walk. You're rooted in place. Transcend the physical is the lesser version of phase, but you can actually move around. So transcend the physical allows you to don't take any damage from normal or any of the elemental or silver. But so you'd say no effect to those, and you'd have your arms crossed, but you could walk around. So if you're fighting wolves or some beasts, you could just walk right by them and it doesn't matter because they can't hurt you. Granted, force abilities, dire abilities, ritual things, or the damage type magic, cleanse, drain, pass, or siphon goes through it, and they break your transcend the physical. So if someone does hit you with magic or pass, either spell or swung,
it will go through.
It will go through it, and you'll break, and you'll take the damage as normal. So it is good in case you're fighting mucks to transcend the physical, because then you can still move around. Along with phase and transcend the physical, you can't impede someone. If they want to push past you, they can push past you. Granted, you could still be kind of a mini wall, to where if someone's trying to swing past you to hit someone behind you, you can kind of try to lean into it a little bit, but if they push past you to hit someone behind you, you need to let them push past you.
Yep.
So it's kind of you can't block a doorway from someone going through the door, but you can block a doorway if someone's trying to swing through a door, kind of thing. And so the utility spells also have a unique circumstance to when you hit level 5, 10, 15, instead of the use of X or Y, you get a use of something else. Just like the fighter and rogue utilities. In this case, phase transcend, you get something called create planar transcendence, and this actually takes you out of the game for 5 minutes. So you actually warp into a mini bubble outside of the plane of existence you're in. You could take up to one other person, so you could throw a spell packet and hit someone else. If they don't dodge it, they will then go out of game with you for 5 minutes. So you just go out of game, and you kind of get off of the combat if possible, so you don't interrupt it, or you could stand there out of game if you want to, if there's not combat happening. And again, that is one use. So at level 5, you get one use of you get one use of create planar transcendence, and then 4 uses of phase or transcend the physical.
Yep.
I need to up my levels in that.
You do. Granted, this is a caveat, with phase being an arcanist kind of focused one where you have to pay extra. If you're not, you can only get up to level 3 if you're not part of the talent of Arcanist. Just like Strength with Fighter, it is capped at level 3 if you're not that talent, and that's just because it is a specialty of that talent. So you're paying extra skill points, and also you're capped at a certain limit. So if you're not an Arcanist, you can never get Transcend the Physical, or you can never get Strength level 4 or 5. You're stuck at 3 as the max.
Oh, I might already be maxed out then.
Maybe. So
we need to hit the table less.
am I hitting the table?
Yeah. No, not that. You just when you talk, we all 3 of us use our hands a lot, but we're making noises and it's getting picked up. But
I will lean back.
no, you don't have to lean back. I'm just saying that we.
So that is phase. The next one is invisibility and negate ethereal, with the 5th level being negate magic. So this is one where you choose at casting either invisibility 5 or negate ethereal at level 1 through 4. So invisibility 5, for 5 minutes you're invisible. Granted, people don't really see your passing unless you're making obvious things like you're grabbing a branch and shaking it. People will see that. Granted, if you're just going through a high grass that goes up to your kneecap, they won't see the grass splitting. But there are times where the marshal on the event will say, hey, you're making too much of a racket, your invisibility breaks, or people see it just because you're trying to go through a giant bush and just by plowing through it without trying to physically do that. So it's one of those that it's a little subjective of what you can get away with, but at the same time, it is basically, is it immensely immersion breaking or not, is kind of my rule of thumb. Mm-hmm. People can interact with you when you're invisible. You could technically interact with them, so you could tap them on the shoulder. You can't do any offensive things or spells or strikes or anything that will break your invisibility. So if you're trying to push past monsters while invisible and they're swinging at someone and hit you, you take the damage and it breaks their invisibility because you just took damage. And if you have to push past people, they will feel that, even if, they're blocking the doorway and you have to slide past them. If they feel it, they feel it. It is kind of one of those, you need to kind of suspension of disbelief with them having a yellow headband on, saying, oh, they're not really there. But at the same time, if they're interacting with you or anything like that, they're like, someone's invisible. You don't know who, but someone's there.
Yeah.
That's actually some creates some fun role play. When you actually ignore the yellow people, the yellow headbands, it actually makes for some fun role play. Like I had one time where Rin, she's like, I'm gonna go invisible, I'm gonna go scout ahead. So she takes off, and we're all standing around talking, and I'm totally ignoring her coming up to me, and I've got my book out, and she grabs my hand and she starts smacking my book with my hand, and then she starts trying to pantomime, like with my hand, the information she's trying to get across. And eventually I'm like, this isn't working, and I just put on my true vision and just was like, all right, we're going to do it this way. But it was a lot of fun because I ignored her, I didn't look at her, I didn't do anything, and all of a sudden she grabs my hand and just starts waving it around. I'm like, okay, I think Rin's back, everybody, like, it was just a lot of fun.
Yep.
And you also can't speak. Even if someone has the ability to see invisible, they can't hear you. No voice whatsoever. And I do need to change what I said a little bit. If you get attacked, if it doesn't render you unconscious or to bleeding, your invisibility still stays up.
Oh, okay.
So the only way to break it is knock them down to unconscious or bleeding, or you hit them with a spell that breaks invisibility. And that kind of leads into the alternate use, negate ethereal. Negate ethereal is the counter basically to invisibility, along with a few other things. You hit someone with negate ethereal, if you could see them or know where they are with invisibility, it ruins their invisibility and they're actually locked out of it for 5 minutes. So they can't go back to invisible. Granted, if they say dodge or some way to avoid that through a defensive ability, it still breaks invisibility because they just used a skill, but they could quickly go back invisible. Negate ethereal also works on phase, transcend the physical, and also ethereal creatures. So ethereal is like the extreme version of invisibility, to where you can speak, they could hear you, You could hit them. You could use spells. It doesn't break it. It's like greater invisibility in D&D 5th edition. Granted, they can't hit you back, even if you're in front of them wailing on them and they hit you. But because they don't have true vision, they can't actually hit you. It'll kind of go through them. So it's one of those. It's a one-way fight until you get true vision. Period.
Yep.
Again, negate ethereal will break that. Also, if you hit someone that is using the siphon or pass ability, it will lock them out of that ability. So if you're fighting an abyssal creature that is swinging for like 10 siphon and healing themselves up for 10 damage every time they hit someone, you can't kill them because of that. Hit them with negate ethereal, they can no longer use siphon or pass.
That's good to know.
Yep.
I mean, not that I have any. Well, I do have one character that has negate ethereal.
I thought you were going to say has siphon. The level 5 version of this ability is either invisibility 30, so it's 30 minutes of invisibility, or negate magic, which is a full-on. And negate magic is kind of one of those. There's a lot happening when you get hit with that ability. So just like negate ethereal, it will take you out of all those things, but negate magic locks you out of all spell casting. Will lock you out of all of your artificing and magic items. It will remove any level 1 spell effects and infusions. So if you have like a boon ability apprentice and get hit with negate magic, when the negate magic ends, you still lost your infusion. If you have anticipate blow, that is technically a level 1 magic effect on you because it only lasts the logistics. If you hit with negate magic, you lose it. If it is from an item, like an item gives you a bonus use of sidestep for that 5 minutes, you can't get access to that item. So you don't have that sidestep for the 5 minutes, but when it comes back, you get access to your item. So you can get that item again and use that ability. It's when you have spells cast on you.
Right.
It also removes arcane armor, so you lose your armor ceiling and all your extra HP. So there is a little bit of work there that you kind of have to think about when you hit with negate magic. Like, what is my base hit points? Or what is my hit points minus that special armor? What is X, Y, and Z? Like, what is my base swinging minus that +2 weapon that I have? So that is...
Zisto says, unless healed.
Yes. And we'll talk about this a little bit when we go into Mystic, is there's an ability that's Grant Well-Being, and anything that mimics a Grant Well-Being will heal you from status effects like negate magic, negate ethereal, poisons, stuff like that. So as soon as you get healed, you still lose those level 1 infusion effects because they are instantly gone as soon as you get hit with that ability. But you get those other things back sooner, as soon as you get healed. Granted, you can't use it yourself if it is a spell because you're negate magic.
Yeah.
But if someone else, or if you have a consumable that is a Grant Well-Being potion or something like that, you can drink that and then you're good.
Yep.
So that is that ability.
Let's see. Look at me. My message in chat is being highlighted. Woo! That new channel point system. See, I haven't even set that up, and it's just automatically running, which is kind of cool. So
That's awesome.
So the next ability is Arcane Armor, and this is a 3 skill level ability. It's pretty simple. If you don't wear armor and you have Arcane Armor, or an ability that gives you Arcane Armor, you get a little bit bonus of HP and an armor ceiling. Armor ceiling is basically, if it's not force or dire, it caps you at that. So if I have an armor ceiling of 8, sometimes called damage ceiling, depends on the person, of 8, and I get hit with 20 flame. If it's just 20 flame, I take 8 flame, because that is the cap of what I can take in one hit. Granted, if it's force 20 flame, I take the full thing because it doesn't stop against force or dire effects.
yeah.
Right.
There are things that go around armor ceiling, which is like drain, pass, cleanse, siphon, any necro or mystic. If you're hurt by mystic stuff, it would go through armor ceiling.
Yeah.
So that's one thing to be aware of.
I miss old school slide. Yeah, slide was crazy though.
Yeah. There are some monsters with old slide, which is a flat armor ceiling and nothing can go through it outside of special circumstances. I don't know exactly what he's talking about because I haven't been here long enough for that old system of slide, unless it works very similar to that.
I think it was fairly similar.
But that is Arcane Armor. It is not nearly as good as real armor because it is very much we want you to look cool, and we want to give extra benefits to people wearing armor and willing to go through all of this.
It's
But
exhausting.
there are spellcasters and people that don't wear armor or can't afford it. We want to give them an alternative because it is expensive.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Storm Dragon 1121 says arcane armor comes in handy when you don't want to wear armor.
that too. And it is a very cheap consumable too, in case you don't want to wear armor. You can quickly apply that and you're good. Granted, as soon as you get hit with negate magic, you lose that. And it doesn't come back. Whereas arcane armor, you only lose it for the 5 minutes.
Let's see. Zisto says slide was you do not take anything under the number. Crow says armor instead of giving a damage ceiling gave a slide.
Okay, so it was like if it get hit with 2 normal and I have a slide of 3, I take no damage because I have so good of armor that it doesn't hurt.
Wow.
Okay,
I actually now remember that.
That's pretty cool.
that's cool, but also kind of having both would be a little confusing.
Yeah, it would be complicated.
I don't
that.
think they had both. I think they had one.
Was it?
You see, he says so. Like heavy armor gave you a 3 slide, which meant you took 3 less damage from any source, which also meant if you were hit by 3 or less, you would call no effect.
Okay, so it's just -3. That's really cool, but also, like some cases, we want to try to make it as simple as possible with as little math as possible.
Yeah, I think that's
So
the main reason they probably did it.
Getting 10
Math.
normal, -3, so I took 7 normal, and then I have 15 HP, so I just down to 8 from that one hit. Doing all that math would be a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot to do all
But
at once.
that's really cool nonetheless. I mean, if they just had a simple, if you take 2 or less damage, you say no effect and just leave it at that. There might be special abilities like that, who knows?
Yeah, that'd be
So arcane armor, not nearly as good as real armor. I think it goes 2, 3, 4. No, it goes 3, 4, 5, depending on the level. So level 1 is 3 HP, level 2 is 4 HP, level 3 is 5 HP, and then your armor ceiling is 8, 7, 6. So it goes down to a minimum of 6, equivalent to medium armor, but you only get plus 5 HP. Whereas with real armor, you could get up to plus 10 HP with an armor ceiling of 5 or 6 or 7, depending. So it is half of the max, and then there's special abilities that could complement wearing real armor. And if you want to scroll down, that would help.
Sorry. Not doing my job.
So we're not going into any artificing stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, any crafting
Any
stuff.
crafting?
Yeah.
So lore mastery is more or less the last utility for arcanist, and it's simply per level of lore mastery you get an extra lore that you could put on your character sheet. So you're like, I've got master undead, I've got master politics. You could say I got level 1 lore mastery and I want to put that extra point into making an adept nature into a master nature. So it just gives you more use, more lores. It's plain and simple. It is a role play and kind of a background builder. If you want to have a know-it-all person, you can, and buy lots of lore mastery. Like, I got master of everything. So that is also a possibility.
Yeah, we definitely have some of those characters.
No
in here.
real combat uses.
I finally got to use a master lore, and it didn't really matter. I was like, cool, I know all this stuff, but I tried to tell the rest of the party, and they're like, we don't care. I was like,
Was it martial traditions?
yes.
There you go. No one cares about traditions. We care about what's currently happening.
I was like, yeah, I've got it. I'm a master even.
So the last thing is rune crafting, and that's just the crafting ability to do runes. Level 1 through level 5.
Or no,
It caps at level 5.
it wasn't martial traditions. It was regimes and heraldry.
Oh, heraldry
Even
and
more
regimes,
useless.
yeah.
I'm joking.
All right, so now we move into mystic.
Yep. So Mystic is, we call it Mystic, but it's Mystic and Necromancy. It's kind of 2 sides of the same coin. Necro is typically a lot more powerful than Mystic, but it comes with caveats. It is currently tinted by abyssal stuff. So plot can very well pull you aside if you use a lot of Necro and say, hey, you're starting to have a personality shift because you've used so much Necro in the past week that it's corrupting you. Things get empowered with Necro, so if you use too much, undead can start getting raised up, stuff like that. Mystic spellcasting, at will, very similar. I summon life or I summon death to drain you 3 or cleanse you 3. Cleanse is an offensive only Mystic ability that could only hurt undead or demons, or if someone has a weird effect on them. You can't heal at will, just because there needs to be some sort of danger. We kind of don't have it heal at will. So you can't do I summon life to 5, heal 3. So that's the at will Mystic Spellcasting. Cleanse, Drain are the 2 alternatives. Then at level 1, 5, and 10, you get a Strike Burst, a Heightened Strike, or a Static Increase. So Strike, this is where you get the once per battle, and this is where it gets kind of into the healing part where I could choose, I want 1 strike at level 1. This now gives you the ability to do that once per battle burst, heal. So I can say I summon life to heal 8, heal 8, heal 8, where normally I can't say I summon life 1 through I summon life 5 to heal 3. Also, because of how niche the Mystic is with what can be affected with it, the increases are better than the Arcanist ability, because Cleanse only affects undead or demons. Drain technically affects everyone, but it is illegal in most countries and frowned upon. So even though it is a base 3, a Strike gives you a +5 or a +10 increase instead of a +3 or +6. Heightened Strike is still a +4, +8 to your burst on top of what the normal strike is. And then a Static Increase is a static increase of +2, not of a +1, and that does affect all of your Mystic Spellcasting, so it's both at will and your burst. So it goes from 3 to 5 at 1 increase of static increase instead of 3 to 4 like Arcane.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that.
Yep.
See, I got out of Mystic because I was confused. I was like, what?
Typically, you go down one route. You're like, I want to be a healer, so I get all the bursts. So every level 1, level 5, level 10, I get bursts. So I get 3 bursts per battle of heal 8s. That's all I need to know. So I summon life to heal 8, heal 8, heal 8. I summon life to heal 8, heal 8, heal 8.
Yeah.
Nothing else to it. Or you're like, I want to be a constant undead killer. So you get all the static increases. So you do 2, 4, 6. So it's I summon life 1 through I summon life 5 to cleanse you 9 all the time. But you don't have any bursts to heal, so you can't heal anyone.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's
one or the other.
That's Mystic Spellcasting.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Next is Vitality, Cause Fear. So unlike Arcanist, to where you have 2 they could choose from that are just fine, this is going to give you a Mystic version and a Necro version.
Yeah.
So the first one is Grant Vitality 5 or Cause Fear. Grant Vitality 5 is very similar to Temp HP in D&D, to where you get a health barrier, in this case of 5, because it says it right there in the name. So if I have a base 13 HP and I get hit with Grant Vitality 5, I now have 18, but I can't get healed back up that temporary HP. So as soon as you can take damage, it takes it from that health barrier.
It's like a temporary shield.
Yep. And you can't stack them either. You have to just take the greater of them. So if I get hit with a Grant Fatality 5, I get hit once for 2, I'm down to 3 temp HP, and I get hit with another Grant Fatality 5, I go back up to 5, I don't get 8.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Or if someone hits you with a 7 and a 5, you can take the 7, unless you're like, screw you, I'm going to take the 5 nonetheless.
Yeah, if you want.
I don't know why he would, but...
It does only last for 5 minutes, so
Yeah.
it should be close to a battle. There are some effects out there that will say you get a health barrier of 5, that lasts the logistics until you lose it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the alternative is Cause Fear. I summon Death to Cause Fear, and this is very much I run away for 10 seconds, not like Repel where you take 10 steps back. You run for 10 seconds.
10 seconds
Or
is a long time in battle.
A light jog, if you're way down, or, depending on the danger, you try to get away from the source. And then for 5 minutes after the spell hits you, you are role-playing that you are scared or afraid of the caster, however your character would do it. And that is kind of you have to decide this, and I would recommend whenever you create a new character, like, how would my character react to these things?
Yeah.
It is, in my personal opinion, a little rude a little scummy to say, like, yeah, I'm scared, but I'm still going to fight them as normal. That just kind of gets rid of the roleplay effect. Granted, my character Kovac since his goal is to uphold the Night Walker Code. One of them is, I will not cower before my enemy. If I get hit with cause fear, I'm almost going to take that as a rage. I'm going to run away for 10 seconds. I'm going to charge in there and just totally not defend myself and try to 1v1 them and die every time. Every time.
See, Ziso says, or stand in fear if that's how your character would act.
Yeah. Like, I know people that run away for 10 seconds and they actually hide at that point and stay there till the thing's
For 5
dead.
minutes. Yep.
You still have to run away for at least 10 seconds, and what you do after that is up to you. I think there's a few things that can alter that to where you're paralyzed for 10 seconds instead of running, which is nice, except you're paralyzed now. So it kind of depends. There's ways to tweak when you get hit with cause fear.
Yeah.
It's very useful to separate out someone from the group is with cause fear.
Yep.
The next is restrain you and immobilize you. So the Mystic version is restrain you, and that is simply putting your wrists down to your side, either at your hips or fully down. It is kind of up to you to which one. We're kind of lenient on if it's hips, but it is nonetheless, the hips have to be locked to your side. Or
Arms.
sorry, your arms have to be locked to your side.
Yeah.
Thank you. You can still technically defend yourself and attack people, but you're sitting there whipping your body back and forth trying to hit them with your weapon. With your wrists locked to your side, you can't get you don't get turning action, so they're kind of almost frozen in place.
Yeah, and it's hard to get that 45-degree hit
So
that
you
you're
have to-
supposed to have
So you
for
have
a
to
legal
turn your
hit.
whole body.
So you have to
Yeah.
turn your whole body
Yeah.
to hit him. Yeah, it's rough.
Yep.
Nevitt says, still think berserkers need immunity to fear. Just saying, salty.
That's funny.
So that is restrain. Very good, because now you know where their weapons are and it can easily defend it, and people can gang up on a creature.
Yep.
The alternative, the Necro version, which is really nice, is the immobilize you. It is basically you paralyze them for 10 seconds. They are considered helpless, so a killing blow or death blow will hurt them. If you hit their weapons, they'll be taking the damage just like freeze your limb. Basically, they're stuck there for 10 seconds, and it is a full 10 seconds. What I like to roleplay, because your body seizes up on you. Oh no, I'm dying out. I got killing blowed. I am still standing there stuck in place for another 5 seconds. And people get confused and they keep on wailing, and you're like, I'm dead, but I'm frozen in place. And then at the end of the 10 seconds, you drop.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
You're paralyzed. You're not, consciousness or not, you're not moving.
Yeah, you do realize what's happening. I mean, your eyes can still dart around. You can't speak or anything like that. It's not like it blinks for 10 seconds. That is waylay. So it is very nice. Most creatures are not immune to this. A lot of the bigger creatures will reduce it of some way or another. Again, it is necrotic in nature. It kind of shows because of how powerful it is versus restrain you. Restrain you, you could still beat someone, but they could still defend themselves. They could still run away. It only locks their hands. It doesn't lock their feet in any way. Immobilize, they're stuck in place, period.
Yep.
The next is Charm You and Cause Betrayal. Charm You is very similar to Cause Fear. Charm You is you get hit with it. For 10 seconds, you are dazed. So instead of the 10 seconds of running away, you're dazed, which means you can't do any offensive abilities. You could do any defensive abilities. You could heal yourself. You could defend yourself. You block weapons. And then for 5 minutes, you consider the person who hit you with that spell friendly, kind of like an ally. The one thing to note with Charm You is you do not remember getting hit with Charm You. As soon as you get hit with Charm You, that is blanked from your memory from then on. You don't remember them ever casting on you. After the 5 minutes, you don't instantly know, oh, I got charmed. You'll be like, that was really weird. Something was definitely off about that. And they're like, maybe that was charm.
Yeah.
And so you do have to kind of consider how your character would react to a friend that is attacking your other friends. Will you get in the way and try to stop them? Will you knock them down to unconscious or will you try to talk them out of it?
Right. So it doesn't make you enemies of your friends.
No.
It just makes your enemy also your friend. And so now you're trying to figure out how to keep your friends from attacking your friend, or
And some of
however you want to role play that.
some of the more scheming characters might be like, I can't do anything because it's Ola of Northwatch versus them. They're going to die one way or another. But when they go down, I'm going to revive them back up secretly and tell them to run to get away at that point, or hit them with a Grant Bean, something along those lines to make sure they're safe, because they're your friend. You don't want them going through the circle. You don't want them dying.
Yep.
Or, oh, that, fairy did this to me. Yes, fairies suck, but nonetheless, they're nice to you. They deserve to live. And then others actually get in the way. Most people role play. I'm still iffy on how I personally feel. As soon as you get hit by that friend, they're now an enemy. No, you're still considered their friend.
Just like,
for
why
that,
are you
you're like, why are you
hitting
hitting me? You might attack them back if you're that type of person, like a mercenary or Banner.
Banner attacks his friends all the time.
But yeah. So it depends on how you would
says-
defend yourself against someone else who's attacking you.
Nevit says, I didn't know about the memory loss part of charm. The more you know.
I didn't know that either. So
Yep, that is kind of the caveat. Charm doesn't get used a whole lot. Granted, my character uses it a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So
Alaron uses it.
it is
Fine.
very useful to get information to. It's just, it is still niche enough that people don't realize the memory part of charm, and they sometimes forget the days that you have to remind them of. Most creatures, when you hit them with charm, they will not hurt you until you hurt them, and then they'll just defend themselves like a creature would. So it kind of depends on who's playing the NPC in that part.
Yep.
Cause betrayal. For 10 seconds, you attack the closest thing to you, and you will want to cause damage to them. Whether or not you use your battle abilities is kind of how you as a player want to do it. I know some people that use their burst whenever they get hit because you're attacking the closest person next to you. Some people will just do static damage only. Some people don't have weapons, and they're like, I'm going to try to incant for the 5 count to hit you, and that's not going to work great. But it is the closest one. Sometimes you have to quickly do a glance around to see who's closest to you, instead of just because the enemy's in front of you doesn't mean you instantly go to them every time. Just because you're looking at them, you have to do a quick take. That's the one thing you have to be careful
You won't
of.
turn around and run back to attack your friends, even though betrayal technically sounds like you're going to attack your allies. That's not the case. It's you're attacking whoever's closest.
Yeah.
So if someone's standing in front of you and you throw cause betrayal at them, they're going to attack you.
Yeah.
Still.
It's still good to do a quick check to see if someone's next to you shoulder to shoulder kind of thing. But more or less, if you're attacking them in melee range and you hit them with cause betrayal, expect them to continue attacking you, period.
I actually had one time where I had kind of charged ahead of the rest of the party, and an enemy hit me with cause betrayal, and I turned around, and everyone was like 10 feet from me, so I turned back around, I'm like, you're closest, and everyone behind me just started busting up laughing because they're like, that guy just wasted that ability, and I just started wailing on him, and they were like,
It is also good in this sense to make sure someone doesn't run away too. If you want to single someone out to 1v1 you, hit them with cause betrayal. They'll 1v1 you, they won't run away. I kind of see it more of a, I'm going to forego all of my defenses and try to hit you as much as I can, so I lower my guard a bit and just try to wail them on them as much as you can. Nevitz says he actually killed 5 of his comrades because of this, and so he had to get something to stop that, or to change it to something else, which I think is fainting betrayal in that case.
that's exactly what he has.
So it can be used in good ways. I like to use my battle abilities, and sometimes I will use my logistical abilities. It does say you do not have to expend your daily resources like force or utility, stuff like Grant Beans and stuff like that. But you can if you really want to. I feel like it spices it up a little bit. I'm going to hit you with the death blow because I have a death blow as soon as you go down. It's kind of rude, but also it changes things. And, you know, I will use necromancy when I'm betrayed because that's a lot more effective. The one caveat here that people don't realize is you do want to damage them. If you can swing for cleanse, you're going to switch to normal because cleanse is not going to do anything to your
Yeah, that's
ally.
something that I know that I've been guilty of.
Yeah.
I was like, who was I playing? It must have been Aziza. Because I'm like, she doesn't really have any abilities. but she had cleanse, and I had been betrayed, and I was swinging for cleanse, and they were like, "You're not doing anything." I think you probably were the one that was like, you'd switch to normal, right?
Yep.
And I was like, "Oh,
Betrayal, you will try to
Right.
damage your enemy as best as you can, which even means dropping it down to normal or doing a different damage type if you can. Kind of play it by ear in that case. If someone's phased and you do Betrayal, you're still going to attack them. It's not going to do anything no matter what you do. You're still going to do it because they're the closest thing. So phase is a nice thing in that case because they can't do anything outside of waste their Betrayal on you.
yep,
So that is the caveat with Betrayal that people have to be aware of. You will try your best to damage them.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you can swing for Drain next to Lita doesn't mean you should. The next is Defend You and Weaken You. Defend You is the spell version of the Defend from the Fighter, which is I summon life to defend you. And that is a spell packet, and it acts as a defend. If someone got hit with like 3 different things, they decide what to take the defend on. It can be used on killing blows, they could be down, bleeding out, and you could still defend them that way. Beware of the 3-second within the last 3 seconds.
Yeah.
If you get hit with a defend or defend you, and it's technically been 5 seconds, you got hit with a killing blow because they were slow with saying the incant or getting to you, don't take it.
yep,
Same with most defenses. It has to be within the last 3 seconds. If you want to be a hole about it, if someone hits you with a forced slay, you can continue on for the next 3 seconds, and then at the 3-second count, then say sidestep, and then continue doing your thing. So you have up to 3 seconds. I would recommend using the defense as soon as you can against an ability and not try to stretch out the 3 seconds because that's
Right.
kind of cheesing a little bit.
yep. I agree with that.
Nevitt says, Boji got hit with a dire cause betrayal once. I decided to play off of the dire effect and rage before attacking my comrades. I didn't have to, but I thought it'd be fitting.
Good.
Yeah,
I like that.
that's awesome.
Thanks, Boji. Do that more often. I would like
Yeah,
that with a
I
normal
mean,
betrayal.
Anytime
Intent.
that you can role play with the combat, I think it just enhances the experience for everybody.
Do keep an account, obviously, the code of conduct and physical, being physical with someone with that.
Right.
Some people know each other enough. They're like, yeah, I could actually bump them or grab them or something. But you also have to be aware of new players. They may not know that this is because of
Role
they
play.
know each other.
Yeah.
They can do grappling on each other. They could grab someone. They could restrain them physically. But so you have to be aware of that too, is the perception of other people whenever someone gets betrayed and you try to grapple them so they can't attack people.
Lone Star says, I have arrived! And Nevitz Gaming, how dare you?
Oh, because he took over the Bit Boss. I think that's what he's referring to.
Yeah, I think so too.
And that was just files at him.
That's awesome.
So the necrotic version is Weaken You. This is really good that people don't realize. So Weaken You, there's 2 steps to it. Both are for 10 seconds. The first is all of your damage types drop, all of your damage numbers drop to 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So if you decide to do Twin Strike, it's force 1 normal, force 1 normal, because it drops it down to 1. No, wait, I take that back. I will talk about why that won't work in a second. So any normal damage type is 1, period. Spells or swung, it is 1. Fire Burst is burn you 1 if you want to hit that people. The second effect is you can't use force abilities, period. You can use Sidestep, but you can't use Force Restore, you can't use Twin Strike, you can't use Slay, any of that. So it locks down that force ability. So
Yeah.
people don't sometimes realize about that second part, which can get someone for 10 seconds. It's great against enemy bosses who have force abilities and you hit them with Weaken, because they now can't force obliterate you, force slay, prepare to die, stuff like that.
That's pretty cool.
He says, how you doing, buddy? But also you stole my Bit Boss. Yep. He's someone from... he's another Utah streamer that's a buddy. He's not anyone... He is very interested, though, in joining Mythic.
Yeah.
Very interested.
He's
Like,
been
Yeah.
every stream.
Almost every single stream he's been here.
He was on vacation last week.
Yeah, man, he listens. He watches everything that he misses, and he like listens to everything. So like, he's very interested. He's up in I think Logan, so he's kind of
I lived up there for like 7 years.
yeah.
It was boring.
So that's kind of his thing is that he's a little far, but he's very interested. So.
Yeah.
And he's the reason why I had you bring all your stuff because he wants to see people's props.
Okay.
Let's see. We'll get into that when we're done.
We'll do
but
a catwalk of it.
by the way, you wanted to see her armor, and she's actually wearing the armor, so now you can see it, Lone Star.
Yeah. Hi. This is my armor. It is very heavy. My shoulders hurt.
Yeah, correct, Logan. He lives in Logan, so he's. I'm trying to convince him to come down.
That's a drive. About 2 hours, give or
Yeah.
take.
So I don't blame him, but I'm still working on it.
Maybe a full day event on Saturday or a weekender would be best.
That's what we've kind of discussed, but
Thanks
So-
for that.
The last one is the force ability, and this kind of goes into the rules of Mythic Realms with what's happened recently. Mystic has been reduced, has been injured in a sense, to where force restores are not as strong, or not as good as what they used to be. So with force abilities as a Mystic spellcast talent, you get Force Restore, you get Grant Heroism, you get Force Obliterate you, and you get Force Enslave you. So 4 of them, whereas Arcanist gets 3. The first one is Force Restore. If you're in your bleed or death count and you're not undead, you can come out of it. It basically brings you back up to full health and cures all your status effects. The issue with what's happened in Mythic Realms right now in Cerealia is it has been weakened to the point where Force Restore is now a 10 count. It is not I Summon Life to Force Restore your spirit. It is I Summon Life 1, I Summon Life 2, all the way up to I Summon Life 10 to Force Restore your spirit. And so that's one thing to be aware of, and that incant can be interrupted.
Yeah, and that sucks.
So the second one is Force Grant Heroism. So this is nice. And it's good to roleplay because basically you give someone a heroic feeling and you basically give them a grant well-being, so you heal all of their HP up to max, you get rid of any negative status effects. You also give them +2 damage to all weapon and spells. And you also get a grant Fatality 5, so you get that 5 temp HP, that 5 health barrier, all from that one spell.
And it lasts for 5
What
minutes.
Lone Star just donated 102 bits, which makes him the bit boss again. He did the math and got exactly what he needed. That's funny. No.
That's good.
So the nice thing with Grant Heroism is it stacks with other increases. So if you rage, you can get a damage increase, or you go into some sort of stance, you can get Grant Heroism too, because it is just a status effect on you. It is for 5 minutes, and there's obviously things that could alter that. So it's good to have that as you're going into combat, but a lot of people actually save it for Force Restore because it's better to bring someone up from dying than to give them an extra boost.
Yeah, we need those big time.
So that is the Mystic side. Very user-friendly. The alternative is Necromancy, and as you expect, it is evil in the best of ways.
The best of ways.
So the first is Force Obliterate you.
Which is my friend.
So if you're undead or demon, or for some reason you get healed by Necromancy, Force Restore brings you up from your death count, just like Force Restore would, but it is I Summon Death to Force Obliterate you. It is not a 10 count, it is instantaneous. But
Sorry, I thought he never
and now they're having a war right now with
They are having a war. They're trying to be bit boss. I love it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We'll
Yeah,
just
you gotta
dance
dance
while
for
we
me.
talk. It's fine.
Just keep tense.
So if you're a living creature and you get hit with a Force Obliterate you, it brings you instantly down to your death count if you don't have some way to avoid it. So it is typically used as an offensive ability when you're undead, or if you could cast it to kill the people, just like Force Slay.
Yeah.
Force Restore can technically do what Force Obliterate does to undead, so if I hit Lita here with the Force Restore Your Spirit, she goes down into her death count. It is useful as an offensive ability. Again, though, it is a 10 count. So
Yep.
don't get hit when you're trying to do that.
Yeah.
The better, bitter battle has begun.
Oh, the better bitter. 'Cause they're
Now he
both-
has to donate more.
Yeah.
So the last one is force enslave you, and this is kind of a lot is going on when you get force enslaved.
Yeah, this one's got a lot of rules behind it.
So force enslave, for 30 minutes, you are enslaved to the caster until you get healed. The one thing to note is you will do everything in your power to stay force enslaved. So if someone hits you with a grant well-being, you will try to avoid that like your life is on the line, because it will get rid of force enslave. So if you have any normal defenses like dodge or evade, you'll use it against them.
Yep.
So if you have, some way to give yourself panacea salve or some way to cure force restore, you will avoid that too. So if you have a personal ability that you could activate that cures all status effects, you will not use it, period. Even if your character would normally use it in a combat situation. Next, that person who hit you with force enslave, you are their lackey, in its lack of a better sense. You will do everything in your power to ensure their safety, unless they give you other commands. Right off the bat, when you get hit with force enslave, you are on their side. You will ensure they are safe. You will not wait for a command. You will not sit there thinking like, what would I do? If they're getting attacked, you will jump in there and stop people from attacking them one way or another, either healing him up or killing them.
Putting
sowing
yourself between
chaos.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as soon as they're safer, if you feel like they can do it, you could start picking off the healers to ensure his safety. You can do other things, but first and foremost is his safety. This will make you, while enslaved, you will use all of your normal combat abilities, utility abilities, force abilities. Things you won't use is stuff that will require essence, like rituals or artifice and stuff.
Right.
Unless you really want to, but you really shouldn't. You will use magic items, you will use consumables, anything in your power to do what they need to do. If they give you a command, you will do what they tell you to do, to the best of your ability, to how you think they would want to do it. And that is the one caveat, is to what you think they want to do, you will not try to tweak it.
I still won't forgive you for breaking my raised dead selves.
Good story. You will not try to tweak it to be the benefit of Northwatch. You will try to do it to them. So it's one of those situations to where
You are totally theirs.
But I tell you, the hardest part about force enslave you is when there's a bunch of enemies and they hit you, and you just have to turn your back to those enemies because you're putting yourself between the enemy and the entire town of Northwatch. Like, everything that you have, like, every bone in your body is saying not to do that because they're your enemy, but now they're not your enemy. And even though all these other guys might hurt you, it doesn't matter. You're going to put yourself in between them, and sometimes the other monsters will leave you be because they know what's going on.
Yeah.
That's not always the case, though, but
Yeah,
which
sometimes
is
you just
scary.
get killed by both sides.
And so
Yep.
this is one of those where you have to be with your character and like, what would my character do
Yep.
when he's enslaved to be the best for the person who enslaved me? And for Valoron one time, he is not a straight up fighter. He will ensure something happens.
Sneaky.
It wasn't a full enslave. It was the person whose dream you're in right now is your best friend, and you know if they get to the end, they're going to mess up his mind. You'll do everything in your power to ensure that he is safe. So I was like, Northwatch would stop trying to get to the end of this if they no longer have supplies and they will die in the process, because Northwatch is selfish in that way. So I got hit with that. People didn't realize that. And as soon as Lita went down, I went through her stuff and broke all her raised dead cells. Because she's undead and people won't use Force Obliterate.
Wow.
She's screwed. I broke 3 or 4 of them.
Four.
Till
They're expensive too.
till someone is like, he's breaking the raised dead, and then I ran away.
Yeah, because they were like, "Oh no, Valoron's got her. She'll be fine." And then
I'm breaking everything.
because you're pulling out my raised dead selves. Yeah, Valoron's got her, and then break. They're like, "No, wait." It was so bad. It was so bad.
And
Wow.
so, I went to the monsters that was hitting those things, and they looked at me weird. I'm like, I'm here to help you. And then they hit me again, and I would take the effect to continue being his best friend over and over to kind of refresh it, because that's to the benefit of them. Granted, it wasn't a full-on, I hate the town and I will kill the town. So every time Lita went down, I'll be like, drain E5 and brought her back up.
Yeah.
I got good on some of those throws. Like, I didn't want to completely obliterate the town because they're still my friends, but I didn't want them to get to the end too. And so it was kind of that give and take there. And it even got to the point where I had an item that gave me 1 disappear. I was so proud of that. I used it in that fight to get away from Northwatch because they were cornering me to get rid of that. And afterwards,
that
was
was a really good role play with enslaves and whatnot.
And so Valeron has plenty of ways to resist mind control at this point, to hopefully stop that. But it's one of those. He is the sort to ensure it happens. He's not a fighter.
Yeah.
So there's some good role plays with that too. And I think there was one time where, what was it, Dagger's retirement, where certain people got enslaved to hold the line to stop people from going through X point. And we got teleported in as enslaved. And people were dropping, and I went straight for the death blow every time.
Oh, God.
And killing blow.
Yeah.
I did that like 5 times. I used Banshee's Wail, forced drain E40 on a few people, and then brought them down. It was rough. Rin had to kill me at that point. She had to unload on me to stop me from doing that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's fun. You just need to ham up enslave. It's really fun to get enslaved. It's not fun to purposely take enslaves, but it's fun to be enslaved, in my opinion, because it gives you a different way to express your character that you normally wouldn't.
Yeah. It's like getting rid of all those inhibitions and flipping the coin a little. Yeah.
If it says Yorshka says hi, that's his bearded dragon.
Oh, that's precious. Also with Enslaved, by default, you will not remember that. So as soon as you get Grant Wellbeing, you will not remember what happened in Enslaved. So if you drag someone into a ditch and kill them, if you get hit with Grant Wellbeing,
you don't remember.
You won't remember that you buried them. You'll just be like, what happened? I don't remember the last X amount of time.
That's true.
Why am I over here?
Yeah.
There are abilities to let you remember that, and if the person who hit you with Enslaved says, you will remember this, you will remember it, but it requires them to say that. So in case they say, you will remember this as you're killing your friend and watching them bleed out and die, then you will remember that.
Oh, that's evil.
Yep. It's great.
Super evil. That's why it's necromantic.
Yep.
Wow.
Enslaved will basically work on everything but golems, more or less.
So I've had some confusion given to me with my Warden resist mind control. Does that work on force level abilities?
Yeah.
Okay.
It will resist mind control will work on anything that isn't dire.
Okay.
And a few. I don't think it works on terror. Does it?
No.
No.
Because there's the level 1 ability that gives me the immune to the roleplay effect. So I don't think that they would have 2 abilities that cover the same.
They would.
Wow.
And resist mind control will stop that 10 seconds too. So get hit with cause betrayal, any mental effect, charm, terror, fear, force enslave, or if there's a normal enslave, you could resist. But you can't do dire. Straight up, as soon as it says dire, you're screwed.
Yeah, dire.
The only way to do that is if you have a ritual to resist it.
I hate dire so bad.
Me too.
Oh, I love
That's
it.
the reason I died
I
last
know.
time.
I was like, they're like dire. I'm like forced to. Nope, that doesn't work. I was like, crap.
Yeah, that was fun. Dire
Yeah,
Emissary.
Enslaved's really fun to play, honestly. People don't agree with me. So, the utility skills for Mystic are very similar to the combat skills in the sense of there's a Mystic and a Necro version. The first is Healer's Touch, and this is the Mystic specialty, so if you're outside of Mystic, you have to pay extra for it. This only does have 3 levels to it, so you'll get up to max level even if you're outside of Mystic. It is Healer's Touch or Necrotic Blade. This is one of the only ways to do healing outside of a burst Mystic spell casting or a few other abilities. But the downside is it is 30 seconds. You have to have your feet planted when you cast it, and you wait 30 seconds to I summon life to Healer's Touch. And you count up to 30. There's ways to lower that. And then you're heal you X. At level 1, it is heal you 4. At level 2, it is heal you 8. And level 3, it is heal you 12. So it goes up by 4s. You could do less if you want to. Like with most damaging things, you could say, I want to kind of say F you. I summon life for Healer's Touch. Heal you 1. Have fun.
It says, have you ever tried blocking a dire pierce slay? I tried blocking a dire pierce slay.
Didn't work out so well, did it?
Yeah.
At level 3 of Healer's Touch, you get what is called Font of Life. And so you're like, I summon life to Font of Life. And this is a 5-minute thing that gives you I summon life 1 through I summon life 5 to heal you 4. So it gives you almost at will healing, but only for 5 minutes, and you only get one of them. And it's only heal you 4, and you cannot modify that damage. So it is always going to be heal 4, even if you have static increases or if you have bonuses through other items that increases spell stuff. It is always going to be heal 4. Granted, you can do other things while you have a Font of Life up. So if I say I summon life to Font of Life, I could still attack, I could still do a burst, I could still do crowd control. But during that 5 minutes, I could go back to I summon life 1, I summon life 2, I summon life 3, I summon life 4, I summon life 5 to heal you 4. So it is a nice kind of backup to have a constant healing.
Yeah. For those furious frays.
Yep. Or shield walls to keep them up.
Yep.
The Necro version of that is Necrotic Blade. So it's I summon death to Necrotic Blade. And then you wait 30 seconds and you will need a weapon in hand. And then at the end of the 30 seconds, you say one of 3 things depending on what level you're at. At level 1, you get Wraith Blade. At level 2, you get Disease Blade. And level 3, you get Reaper's Blade. So there's no healing or draining. For Necrotic Blade, it is kind of a status effect you put on a weapon. And basically, you do that after 30 seconds, then you'll say Wraith Blade or Disease Blade or Reaper Blade. You could use any of those as long as you have the skill level required for them. Wraith Blade is within the next 5 minutes, you get 3 swings of pass. You don't have to do the next 3 swings like Elemental Sheath or a Poison. It is within the next 5 minutes, you can do it at any time. So you could do Death Blow Pass. You can decide to do it with a burst for weapon proficiency, stuff like that. Level 2 gives you Disease Blade, which is Cause Disease, which gives them the disease effect, which is for 10 seconds you could walk, only walk, you can't run. And then until cured, you're diseased. And that is half of your max HP rounded up. Period.
Yep. Which sucks.
Yep. So you'll have to take that into account whenever you do that. It is great against enemies. Granted, you're saying cause disease, not disease, poison, or anything like that. So they know it is necrotic in nature. So you can't say, oh no, it was a poison. No, you said cause disease when you swung it. You didn't say disease poison.
Right.
Granted, if you're good with your words, you might convince
You might convince
a lesser intelligent PC that no, that was a disease poison. You just heard it wrong. These things are great against drakes because drakes are not immune to disease and they have nice HP and are resilient, so you could quickly hit them with that, and then they're suddenly at half health.
Yeah.
Or they could use their defenses against it and waste their defenses on that versus other things.
Yeah.
And then the last one is Reaper's Blade. And so this is the level 3 Necrotic Blade ability, which is within the next 5 minutes, you get 3 death blows. So normally with Killing Blow, you do a 5-second count, then say Killing Blow 1, Killing Blow 2, Killing Blow 3, Killing Blow 4, Killing Blow 5, damage type, death blow, damage type. And then you can move on. It is very fast. It is to stop other people from raising the back up from bleed count. It is vicious whenever you're enslaved. So use that to your heart's content. But again, it is necrotic, so be aware of that. It is not obvious if someone has Reaper's Blade on them because there's the strength related death blow too, and there's many items that do the same thing. The only things that is obvious whenever you swing for pass or whenever you swing for cause disease, those are obviously necrotic. Having the weapon and someone just holding the weapon, they're not going to outright know you have that on their weapon. So just holding it like, oh, I don't know. If you do detect magic, oh, there's a level 1 ability, I don't know what it is. They'll have to do identify or identify ritual to know that effect. So that is kind of the one thing with Necrotic Blade is it's easy to hide if they don't see you casting the spell until you actually use it in most cases. And then the level 3 ability is Font of Death. This is similar to Font of Life, but much better. 5 minutes just like Font of Life, but instead of saying I summon Death 1 through I summon Death 5, it is I summon Death to drain 4, I summon Death to drain 4, I summon Death to drain you 4, I summon Death to drain you 4. Very fast.
No count.
Yeah. and you have to say drain you. I didn't say drain you at the beginning. I apologize. So it's great for undead or enemies because you could keep that up constantly to heal creatures, or if you want to constantly hit someone with drain it.
Are you done?
With Font of Death,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. Well, Nevitz real quick says, I'm so glad things don't swing for Siphon as much as they used to. And then Lone Star says, my fish died. Sad face. Oh, that is sad. What was your fish's name? Did it have a name? Or was it just fish?
Fish number 1.
Fish number 1.
2. Fish A.
That was the name of something like Mr. Fish or something like that.
Mr. Fishy.
That's always his joke.
That's funny.
Mr. Bubbles.
I think he ate the
denitrifier.
denitrifier.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry to hear
Moment
that.
of silence for your fish.
Okay.
Nevitz.
Rip one fish. Oh, man. Sorry for your loss. Yeah, that sucks.
True Vision 5 and Identify.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is the counter to basically invisibility. True Vision 5 and level 1 through 4 and 6 through 9 gives you one use of either True Vision 5 or Identify. True Vision 5, put on a white headband. It does not have to glow at night. That's the one thing where most other headbands that signify certain things have to be lit at night. It lets you see invisible, lets you see ethereal, and maybe some other plot stuff if plot decides to do that. Pretty straightforward. You could give it to yourself, you could give it to other people. The level 5 version is True Vision 30. It could get rid of with a negate magic. A negate ethereal wouldn't get rid of a True Vision. The flip side, and this is not one that's Mystic versus Necro, it is all just, it's called Wisdom of the Ages. It's kind of a more, the world's knowledge flows into you to kind of help you with this. That's another thing that the Mystic talent is known for, whereas Arcanist is known for time and space. With that is Identify. Identify is I summon Wisdom of the Ages to identify, and if it's a level 1 or level 2 item, or level 0 if it's artificing, you will instantly know what that does. It can be used for barriers, it can be used on people, it can be used on items. Do note if you hit a person with Identify, it will identify what's on the person themselves, it will not identify the items on the person. Mm-hmm. So if they have spells on them, they have rituals on them, you will know that, but you will actually have to hit the item to know what the item does. And then the level 5 version is Identify Ritual. And this is up to 5 different items of level 1, 2, or 3, or 0. You can, if you're touching them for 30 seconds, do Identify Ritual and know what they do. So that is the one difference is it can hit level 3 items, and you can do up to 5 items at once as long as they're in your possession or you're touching them for 5 minutes. 30 seconds. Pretty simple. Some things are still hidden from Identify or Identify Ritual if they're like an artifact or if there's some role play effect that is hidden unless you meet its criteria, but it will say that on the orange item card that comes with the magic item.
Yep. Alrighty.
So the next is Grant Wellbeing and Grant Shadow Form. This is the Mystic Necro type of thing. So Grant Wellbeing is you hit them with Grant Wellbeing if they're in their bleed count or any other thing lesser than a bleed count. They'll come up to full HP, cure any status effects. That's the gist of it.
Yep.
It is good to get rid of disease. It is costly to get rid of disease because there's cheaper ways to get rid of disease. But it is a good way if someone quickly goes down to their bleed count, hit them with the Grant Wellbeing so they don't get death blowed to get them back up into fighting. We also have the issue of if you go into your bleed count and you get healed with a burst heal or a first aid or something like that, you are dazed for 10 seconds. So you can't attack for 10 seconds, and that kind of goes into the same effect of how Force Restore is 10 seconds.
Yep.
Grant Wellbeing makes it so you don't have to worry about that. It cures that dazing effect, so you go straight back into combat instead of sitting there for 10 seconds waiting for it to get back up.
Yep.
The level 5 version, when you hit level 5 instead of a Grant Wellbeing, you get what is Lay on Hands, Restore Your Spirit. This is very similar to Force Restore Your Spirit, but it doesn't take a Force ability slot. The downside is I summon life to lay on hands, 30 seconds, restore your spirit. So it is a very much a not in the instantaneous kind of way like Force Restore Your Spirit is. It also does pause their bleed or death count.
Yep.
Don't try to gimp it to where like I summon life to lay on hands, wait 25 seconds, let go. I summon life to lay on hands to kind of pause their death count. That's kind of gimping. That's kind of
It's fudging the rules a
yeah.
little.
Yeah.
We have an ability for that called Stasis.
Right.
White Knights.
That's a White Knight ability.
So try not to do that. Obviously, if you're doing that and someone attacks you, you let go, you could start it again, but not purposely.
Yeah.
Right.
This does not fall underneath the Force rules, so you could use as many lay on hands, restore your spirits that you have in one battle if you want. The Necro version is Grant Shadow form. This is a 5-minute form, basically, of necrotic energy draping you. There is a tabard you wear, a black tabard that says Shade or Shadow form, something along those effects, in bold white on you. You have to put it on you, and then for 5 minutes, you get healed by Drain, hurt by Cleanse, no effect on heal, healed by Obliterate. Basically, you're undead.
You become me.
But on top of that, you could regenerate on a 10 count as long as you're conscious.
Mm-hmm.
And regenerate is similar to a Grant Well-Being, so as soon as you finish, you're back up to full HP, no status effects. It is great, but again, it is necrotic. You can give it to yourself, you can give it to other people, but you do need the Fizz Rep for Grant Shadow form. So that is the downside, is carrying around that tabard or sash to use. The sash itself is out of game until you do Grant Shadow form on someone. So if you're carrying it on your belt and someone sees it, they can't call you out on it. Kind of like Conceal.
Yeah.
So that is also good if you decide to give it on someone who's dying or in their bleed count. You give them Shadow form because of the level 5 ability, Grant Necrotic Revival. Grant Necrotic Revival is similar to Lay on Hands, Restore Your Spirit. The great thing is you give it to someone and it is on you until used for that logistics, and the player decides to use it, not the character. So you could be in your death count, you could be in your bleed count, and you could say Necrotic Revival, and then you come up, it's like you got hit with a Force Obliterate you.
As undead, which would bring you back
Yes.
up.
So if you're undead like her, someone could cast it on her and she could use it whenever she wants. That logistics, as long as she doesn't hit with negate magic, because that would wipe it out. But with Shadow form, if you don't have the 30 seconds to do Restore Your Spirit and you don't care about Necromancy, you could hit someone with Shadow form and then give someone a Grand Necrotic Revival and they could get up instantaneously. Or you could give yourself Necrotic Revival and then give yourself Shadow form, and during those 5 minutes or whenever you use Shadow form, you could use Necrotic Revival on yourself if you ever go down.
Now, with all of these, you automatically get the necromancy abilities, right? You don't have to select when you buy the skill. You automatically get them regardless.
Yes, it is just like Arcane. You choose at the time of casting. People can technically role play if they want. Like, oh, I can't cast necromancy. Technically, they can. Their character is making a choice not to.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very easy to flip that coin to the necromancy side. So if they're like, I physically cannot, that is a lie. Because as soon as I enslave you and tell you to cast necromancy, you will be casting necromancy.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, the last two were utility skills, so we're not going to go over those.
Which is scroll making and medicine.
We're going to go into those on another stream, so because they are very, very in depth, and I don't know that we will do those in the basics or on season 2. I don't know yet, so because they're kind of an advanced thing. So
Yeah. They're like the mini game.
a mini game, I guess you could say that. Let's see. Crow couldn't physically cast Necro, but I had Force Restore.
Yeah, so there's plot reasons why you may not be able to, but that's
Yeah.
a straight up plot saying this is this and X,
Right.
Y, and Z.
Plot always has the ability to change the rules for you.
Mm-hmm.
They have the ability to tweak it. So
Within
the
reason.
core rule book, we call it the core rule book because all of these are the basis of which everything else can be modified from. So
Did Plot give you the thumbs up for that?
Nope, I didn't. What? I didn't want the obliterate option.
There's some classes that actually say you get force additions to your force ability. Choose X, Y, Z, and they typically have force restore and force obliterate separated out. So that wouldn't work. Crow had a lot of unique things happening to him, and
Yeah, he did.
unique passes just because of his history and how long he's been playing. So there was some weird things happening.
Yeah. Cool. Let's see. Jack of all trades. Yeah, didn't pick obliterate.
So in that case, it was a class that says you could choose one of these 7 abilities: force restore, force obliterate, force enslave, force heroism, force holocaust, whatever. He chose just force restore. So there was a class reason. Whereas if you chose the mystic based talent, you have both.
Actually, I didn't have that many things going on. I just lied a lot. Lol. Wow.
And that's what you can get away with inside, is selling the lie. And that's a role play thing.
yep, talk yourself up. It's fine.
Cool.
Yep,
That's
Alright,
it
you,
for magic.
Are you
yeah?
still here, Lone Star?
more or less. Did we talk about the base ones like detect magic and illuminate and
No, I don't think we
detect
did.
affliction?
No. We can
Okay.
talk about those real quick if you want.
So whenever you pick a talent, you get certain talent abilities. Like fighters, you get the ability to use shields, heavy armor, medium armor. As a rogue, you get access to medium armor and +1 to daggers damage. To mystics, you get the casting ability to cast detect magic and detect affliction. For arcane, you get detect magic and illuminate you. So with detect affliction is if I count wisdom of the ages and you touch something, either a person or an item, and you're like, detect affliction, is there a poison in it? Yes or no? If it's a person, are they poisoned? What are they poisoned with? So you know the type of poison in there. As long as it is a common poison, there can be some unique things. You're like, you have no idea what this poison is. It is not something that you would normally run across. Also, if you hit a person with it, it is also a status ability. So I could hit you with detect affliction, bleeding, or death count, or uninjured, or unconscious. So it is like the status ability. People don't really realize that, but it is a 5-count status.
Oh, okay.
Detect magic, you touch someone or an item. Detect magic, level 0, level 1, level 2, level 3 artifact. Also, residual is 1, and that is simply how strong of an item that is. Artificing is level 0, so if you detect magic, there's no way to differentiate between a mundane and a artificing ability. You'd have to spend time to actually do that on the separate. Illuminate you allows you to use a light. Basically, you could either touch yourself or touch someone else to illuminate. It is very similar to the light spell in D&D, except you have a small flashlight. You have to hold it down. You can't flash into people's eyes. Can't be used to blind people in combat. Can't be used in an offensive ability. Outside of Plot's permission, with certain things happening on the module, maybe.
Right.
So if someone has illuminate to look for spell packets or for looking for things on the ground, if they flash it upwards to get someone's eyes, you could call them out on like, hey, please make sure you keep it on the ground. Typically keep it at your feet.
Yeah.
And that's it. You can also use it on like people sometimes get these small gems that glow whenever you turn it on. They could cast illuminate, so it has a very dull glow that won't affect anyone's vision. And it could be simply, hey, I'm illuminating this, so if I go down in the dark, you can tell where I am, and then, like, am I in a bush? Whatever, stuff like that.
Right.
And it is until turned off, or negate magic. So once cast, you could just turn it off, or it is there until
Yep.
basically someone turns it off.
Yep.
Okay. So that's all of those?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't go over those, so that's good. That's good to know. So Lone Star wants to see various props that people use. So that's why I had you bring your stuff. You can show off your shield while he goes and gets his stuff if you want. And I figured it'd be good for some of the other viewers too. So
Yeah,
That's
so
why-
this is his shield,
yes.
if you didn't gather that already. This is my shield. Sorry, I just like whacked the microphone. So everyone tells me my shield looks like a tombstone. It's true. I mean, I made it for me. Does it match my eyes? So, but this is just EVA foam. So it's super flexible and bendy, and I just have just a grip handle. Here I have a slot to keep my consumables, which I have to go through. These are probably all expired. We're going to soon because I haven't used the shield in a little while. But yeah, that way I have easy access to my consumables. Yeah, I used to have a strap here. I ripped it off. That strap was to hook it onto my belt so I didn't have to carry it all the time.
One Star says these props are amazing.
Yeah, they're fun.
So here we go. We're gonna go through a bunch of weapons.
First, I'm going to be showing off the shield she made me.
Yeah, the shield. That,
So this is Valoron's shield. It is technically a healer's shield, which is a magic item that lets anyone use the shield. So I made it kind of small and basic, so like they wouldn't be able to wield a bulky shield as anyone can wield it. So I kind of put this limitation on it, and got this nice little design on it. It's actually got a raised curve on it, has curves in the right places, and then it's simply an arm strap.
Sexy.
You just put your arm through it. I'm not one for punch shields, so I said no to that.
Yep.
So she made this for me. Great.
It was fun.
Nevin says, speaking of weapon props, looks at Lita.
Sorry, I was like super sick this week.
Oh, yeah?
And been super stupid busy. But I'm getting back on track this week, so forgive me.
You want to show off your other shield?
Yeah, no. At the end, it's carrying all my other
It's
stuff.
got it's underneath everything, yeah.
So this weapon is. Actually, I'll do this.
Come over here
Okay.
to the camera.
So. I'm sorry if I'm going to cover you.
No, you're fine.
So this weapon here, I've had for 3.5 years, I think. It is Valoron's sword. I got it from Kalamazoo. I've never done any maintenance on it. I don't know if you can see, but things are starting to get worn off from being in a frog and on clothing. But otherwise, it's a great sword that I will probably use forever until Valoron retires.
Yeah, Kalamazoo are super durable.
Nevin
But
says,
hard if you're not careful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very hard. Nevin says you are forgiven.
So this next one is another dagger. Most of my stuff is actually from Kalamazoo. Dagger I got. If it's not shiny,
so
it is
pretty.
black and red.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah, you can see it at certain angles.
Small dagger. Gotta be careful with it a little bit. It is a little stiff. Then a fencing sword. Kind of. Rapier.
Rapier.
Very simple. It used to have a little guard on it, but I took it off just because I like the aesthetics without it.
Z still says they are hard when it's cold out. But to be fair, all of the weapons get hard when it gets cold. So
Kalamazoo is a little bit harder.
yeah, they for sure. But like,
They have different types of foam used in Kalamazoo, so some of them are actually pretty good. The main thing you'll want to be careful of is striking area. Like my main sword, it is flat for about 1 inch. It doesn't actually come to a point, so it helps just so you don't get stung as badly.
Right, yeah.
And then I've got this one, which is a cheap. I got it for like $40 from, I think, Medieval Collectibles. It requires a lot of maintenance, which I haven't done, so you have to like spray it down and wipe it down. So it's kind of falling apart. It is very light. It's good for kind of like a one-off thing to use.
Yeah.
nice.
Lots of different kinds of
I don't
swords.
think I've seen that one before, so I like that.
Then I have my decorative axe.
Super
nice.
It
pretty.
is not LARP safe, really. It's gotten better. It's definitely not good at
Oh, yeah.
issues. It doesn't bend when you strike it. It actually stays pretty solid that way. And
Yeah.
sorry about the mic. It is very decorative, so I wear it as an NPC if there's an NPC that would have an axe as decoration, but I would not use it in combat
Yeah.
unless I work on it a lot more.
It's pretty, though.
My favorite, a brick.
That's
Brick to
nice.
throw at people.
I
have
love it.
A throwing
this so I could
brick.
attach it to a belt if I ever decide to use this as a character. Pretty simple, and then I pick it up and I just throw it at someone.
I love it.
Freaks people out because it actually looks like a
It did.
brick.
It totally looks like a brick.
It's
It's
so
like
awesome.
$15 or so, I think.
And better than fake rocks, because fake rocks look like real rocks, and you throw them and they're gone forever.
Exactly. Then I've got a dagger,
Squishy, squishy.
simple dagger.
Yeah, simple
Yeah,
dagger.
pretty
Nice, though.
simple.
Well. Then I've got a longsword, two-handed weapon. It is a little whippy, so I have to be careful about that. I haven't used it too often.
So the thing with whippy weapons is that it'll create a stronger force when it comes in for the hit, and so that's why we like them stiffer,
So you have to
not
be-
so whippy.
Careful, just
Yeah.
a little less on it.
Just don't swing so hard.
And I bought these recently, mainly to pass out to people to use, if ever
As a loner
someone.
weapon.
What?
As a loner weapon.
Yeah, it's a loner weapon for anyone. Got it pretty cheap, about $50 I think from Kalamazoo.
That's pretty good for Kalamazoo.
It uses a different foam, so it's came pretty soft. And so this is one that I'm like, I could give to anyone and not worry about it getting destroyed. Because I've given some weapons out to new people or to people that don't really understand the care you have to put into latex weapons. And it comes back torn or a little shredded.
Yeah.
So this one, I don't have to worry about that.
Experienced that already. My weapons get used by teenagers a lot, so they're pretty hashed.
Stop having them.
They're not always my teenagers, they're just the ones that I bring with me.
And then I've got throwing weapons. So, simple throwing dagger.
So any sort of thrown weapon can't have a core inside of it, so they have to be completely flexible.
So this is a dagger, not a throwing dagger because it's got a core in it. It's typically a boot knife. Then this is another throwing dagger.
Yeah.
Same one. And then I've got this, which I actually bought from Crow because he didn't need it anymore. I really like these. These get some good distance on them.
That's awesome.
And then I had this shield made a while ago. It is falling apart, if you notice, on the edge. But it is very simple. Am I coming in? Does NPCs need a shield? Do I randomly need a generic shield? It is good for what it does.
Yes, it is, because I used it for a very long time.
And it's got spots on the back for cards or any consumables you need to put in there.
Yeah.
Wait, Nevin says, nothing beats my floppy axe.
There's one seal.
And then some other things I have, which is kind of nifty. Basically this right here, I use it as a hand guard whenever I'm having a sword because it kind of stops things from sliding down kind of as a character thing. But it's actually a slingshot guard. So you'd have a slingshot go here and it actually protects your hand from it.
That's awesome.
I use it because it works great with the sword because it's just
That's
kind of like a
awesome.
gauntlet with minus the whole gauntlet part.
That's awesome.
I mean, I
like
can
that.
also do it like this if I want to be on the back of the hand too.
Oh, jeez.
And then it's-
CISO says they have medications for that, Nevis. For his floppy axe.
and then it has a little thing that I actually put a spell packet into if I ever need an emergency spell packet.
Nice.
Those are
Yeah, it's always nice to have gloves that you can put spell packets in.
And then one thing I would also recommend, water. I actually got a beer holder
Yeah.
for a belt, and it holds water just fine. So I have this on the back typically with a bottled water, just so you have something to drink without taking up precious pocket space.
Yeah. Bottled
Water is key.
Yeah.
Especially-
Oftentimes only a couple people will bring some and they're just passing their water bottle around.
Yeah.
Always bring water.
I also do have a cloak that I don't know if I want to put on. It is literally a military blanket I got from the military surplus store with one of those big pendulum.
It's just a pin, yeah.
Yeah, giant one of those
The
old-fashioned metal pins.
Cloak pins.
Cloak pins, and you just fold it and then you pin it together, and it's like almost looks like a Western cloak.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Yeah.
Adds a lot of character to your character.
Yeah, just buying a blanket and then putting that in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing the things that you can do to add a little extra zip to your aesthetic. Yeah. So,
Oh, and then a plain sword that I had up here.
oh yeah. That one too.
I go on spending sprees. I used to have a mace, and then
Yep.
I gave it away, sold it.
You sold it. I have it now. So I'll show that on another stream. We went through a lot today, so let's see. Don't forget to bling up your character. Yeah.
Yes. All of the accessories. That's kind of one of the things that I feel like will always set your character apart as that specific character. Like, if, you know, he's not wearing his chainmail, but he's got on his white shirt and those necklaces, I know that that's Jovi.
Where's your
because
necrotic necklace, though?
It expired.
it expired.
And I did not bond it because it wasn't that great.
So little accent things are a good way. Yeah, like everyone knows that if the shield comes out, this is Valoron.
Yep.
Right? There's no question about that. So having those little accent pieces that even if your gear is changed a little bit, you're always recognizable.
Oh, Nikolai has lots of bling, and Lone Star wants me to hold my shield. We can get it off the fence, I guess, real quick and do that.
Yeah, it's pretty massive. It doesn't really do it much justice sitting around the fence. Now you get a gorgeous look at his cape, too,
Yeah.
which is fantastic.
All right.
He was like, adjust.
Got it. There you go. Massive shield.
So there you go. Covers pretty much my whole main torso.
Yeah.
Great for spells hitting him.
Yeah. I've also thought about like when they do like the mass package, just getting in the way with this big old beast. Because now that I know I only take one, I'm like, woo!
Yep, exactly.
So yeah, there you go, Lone Star.
Lone Star says, "Ooh, I love Jovi's cape."
Thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
A lot of people were like, "No capes," quoting Incredibles at me, but I have buttons so that if I get caught, it comes off.
That's right.
So, but I like my cape. It makes it so that I'm identifiable from the front and the back. People know who I am.
He is a walking Falcon Crest advertisement.
It's true.
Awesome.
Nice.
It's huge.
Yeah, awesome. It's huge. Makes a big target for 4 shield cripples. Zisto says, "I love capes.
Yeah.
Capes are pretty dope."
Another cape person. I love it. So, we're trying to get more people in game to wear capes. Join the cape crew.
Cloaks are better.
Yeah, cloaks are at least more utilitarian.
They're way more utility. Yeah, like this doesn't do anything for me.
It's just good
It
looks.
just looks good.
There's nothing wrong with looking good.
I have Divas's mom to thank for this cape.
Yeah.
She did a really good job.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
So, I gave her the materials and the concept, and we printed out the Falcon Crest logo, and I was like, "This is what I want," and she did a way good job. So.
Yeah.
I need to bring your helmet in one day too. I've seen pictures of it finally.
Oh yeah, my helmet.
Oh yeah. They sh-
I've retired my helmet.
yeah. You don't wear it
You go
anymore.
through
That's
helmets so
fine.
much.
Yeah, the coif, I love it, but it gets stuck in my scale mail, so I
Yeah,
can't
it's
turn
hard.
my head. I mean, I can barely turn it as is, but while I'm in that stuff, it's even less.
Yeah, try wearing a real helmet.
Yeah, I know. So,
Screw that.
anyway.
You can't move your head like at all.
So we went over everything we wanted to go through. I don't know if there's anything else really.
There's my question that I always ask every week.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm like lazy today. So I always ask. He always asks what's LARP to you, and I always ask, what's your favorite memory from LARP? And it always puts everybody on the spot, so I love it.
So one of my favorite memories, and it's my first event that I came in. There was the Avarisi family, which was like 5 of us, and they'd slowly petered off or moved away or stuff like that. But I came in as Valor on Avarisi, and it was the mask event for Resport. One of the Halloweens. Every Halloween, you have to wear masks, or the souls of the dead will take over your body, kind of thing. And so, my first time there, I don't really know the rules. And we're going from, I forgot which park it was. And there was a point where we're walking as a group. The group stops, but I'm fiddling with something that was given to me, the necklace, trying to put on a necklace. It was a new character, like underneath 100 skill points, you get this. Day of the Drift. Thank you. And I'm trying to put it on because I'm terrible with clasps. And it was freezing October 31st. I think it was the 31st or 30th. And I'm like looking down, everyone stops because monsters come, and I just keep on walking into the middle of the group of the monsters. Yeah, big cottonwood. And so obviously I go down because I'm startled when they hit me. And then they just, like 2 of them surround me, and they just take off my mask.
Oh, no.
And then they have to tell me what to do. I'm like, sure, I totally know what that is. And so I just got up, and I think it was a betrayal or something like that. That's kind of how I played it. Like, you had enslaved and blah, blah. But they brought me back up, and I attacked them, and they brought me back down. Northwatch killed me again. And then they have to, like, put on the mask. And it was a interesting event where I quickly learned the group stops when the group wants to stop and doesn't tell everyone else, so you have to pay attention. That's happened a few times where the group stops, but then the few people that were kind of in front of the group just keeps on walking.
It's called spatial awareness.
I've learned.
Yeah, this last Wednesday, there was actually a moment where I was like, we've lost more than half the group, and so we stopped.
Fine, just
Because there was a big old group of enemies on the other side of the bridge, and we're like, let's just hope they stay there, because if they charge now,
we're screwed.
So yeah, it was like me and Gray, and I think Boji was there. But there was only like 3 or 4 of us, and everybody else was nowhere to be seen. And I was like, guys, because I can't, if I'm walking, I don't hear other footsteps over my armor. So I have no idea that we lost the group. Let's see, we would have...
You were lucky you were new. We would have done so much worse.
Thank you. I would have been overwhelmed if you did more because I'd have no idea what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the events that they run, so that's why he knows about that.
Yeah.
Resport was kind of their thing.
Yep.
Which I only ever NPC'd for.
I never got to be involved in Resport at all, ever. Never done any Resport thing.
I NPC'd most of it. I PC'd as Valoron like 4 or 5 times. There was that one event, and then like halfway through the next year I did a few. Then I'm like, Valoron wouldn't want to help these people. So I NPC'd from there on.
I think I PC'd once, and that was it too. I was like, I haven't in-game really had a reason for Jovi not to go. Like, I know Jovi would want to go, but Jovi's never experienced it to know that he doesn't want to go. So I actually made myself go once, and I was like, yeah, I don't like this. Jovi doesn't like this, so Jovi's not going anymore. So then I continued NPCing for it, but I only ever did a few events.
And it's always good to either have a backup character that would be willing to do almost anything versus your main character, because, you know, people always have drives to either be willing to NPC events that your character wouldn't want to do, or have a backup. You're like, I'll just play as them because I know Valoron wouldn't care for the dream world or any of that stuff.
Yeah, that is true.
Cool. So I would like to, so now we got that out of the way, I'd like to thank Ascendance Gaming Center for letting us filmed this here. I guess you could say
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you.
If it wasn't for them, this wouldn't be even possible. So I appreciate that. They're located in South Salt Lake. Have you guys extended your hours yet? They're about to extend their hours. So keep a look on that. They've got 2 Ultra machines and 2 VR, which I've been having a little bit more fun with VR. Played Job Simulator last night. I was a mechanic.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
And it's funny because they're like super generic. They're like, put fluids in. And you literally can put like a can of an energy drink in like the gas tank if you really want. Like, it's really funny. So anyway,
Job Simulator's hilarious.
I also want to talk about real quick. Awesome stream today, guys. At least what I got to see.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I wanted to
Sunshine.
real quick also talk about Castle of Chaos, which you mentioned earlier. Castle of Chaos is great because they let us play in their building. We have like a partnership with them where during the cold months, instead of all of us freezing our butts off outside, we get to play
It's
inside.
I enjoy it.
Yeah. So, but we get to play inside Castle of Chaos. So we just like to appreciate that. And since it is the haunt season, I just wanted to give a shout out to them. They're open 7:30 to 10 on weekdays and 7:30 to 11 on Friday and Saturday. And then
Till
think
midnight.
till
right?
midnight. And then Sunday is 7:30 to 11.
Yeah.
Can you pull up the website? Because I don't know the address off the top of my head. So real quick, we're going to share this with everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that. It was one of the top things.
Actually, I'll be there tonight with my 2 oldest children. We'll be acting in the haunt tonight. So.
I was going to say, how do you have the energy for that anymore? I did it for 7 years, and now I know that I can't do it anymore.
I don't know if I'm going to have the
so-
energy to do it. I actually might not be acting. My kids will be. I might just be there. I might go through the haunt myself. Do a level 4 or 5.
Ooh, nice. But yeah, so
This is Ascendance? Nope. I'll just drop them all in there. And YouTube.
so and that's the end. Congrats to Aristar for the next youngling on the way. So yeah,
What?
yeah.
That was such a delayed reaction. I love it.
Congratulations.
Congratulations!
Thanks.
You're pregnant?
You pregnant?
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations. Ooh,
So-
that's awesome.
Petting the chain man.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Yeah, give your
guess-
wife a hug
okay.
from us.
Okay.
From
She
me.
doesn't really know me.
Yeah. No, that's
She doesn't know me either. Give her a hug for me anyways. Because that's nice.
So anyway, thanks.
YouTube and Anchor on Wednesdays.
Oh yeah, so we upload these to YouTube and we get the podcast available on Anchor. All those are available coming up on Wednesday.
They post at 10 in the morning.
They post at 10 a.m. So you guys can always catch up on it that way. We also have the video of the day available on Twitch on my channel here. We always upload them up there as well. But those are another options for you. So
Yeah.
I can't see what is he.
Yay for babies, he says.
Yeah.
Yay for baby. And he still hasn't.
Yeah, Lone Star's got one on the way. Like,
Yeah, he does.
It'll be here any day now.
December, I think, is what
No, I
they
thought
said.
it was this month.
Too many babies in the world.
Lone Star, when's your baby due?
He's got a 30-second delay, so.
Yeah,
It'll
that's
be a
fine.
while before we get a response from him. But thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for the subscribers. Thank you for the bits. I love seeing the little bit war going on there for a little bit. That was
That
awesome.
was awesome.
And everyone, thanks for being here. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the comments and the corrections when we needed them. I really appreciate that. And everyone, thanks for being here. Kovac, and thank you for being here, Lita. See
You're welcome.
Yeah, see you December. I thought it was December because I've been talking to him a lot about
December
it. So.
27th.
Oh, Nevitz Gaming coming in with more bits. Woohoo! He keeps doing the graveyard because it's October. So, yay, 100 more bits. I appreciate that. So, thanks everyone for being here. Actually, everyone in chat, real quick. I don't have a guest next week because how I had to move things around.
Ah.
So, does anyone in chat want to volunteer to be a guest next week?
Otherwise, I might be able to dig somebody up. Like my husband.
Yeah, I don't have anyone for next
I mean, he
week.
comes here anyways.
Yeah, he does. So,
Have them talk about food.
Yeah, we could do that.
what is
Do you
that?
have a topic planned for next
I
week?
don't. I don't have.
We could
because I
talk
didn't-
about the tavern and bring in Zarn.
Yeah, That's
Yeah.
kind of like a new player thing to experience the tavern and everything that goes on there. So what I think I want to do is we can talk about the tavern, and then on the 3rd, I want to actually bring someone in to make a character the first time. They're still going at it.
240. One up, yeah.
Zisto, it's my 40th. Well, congratulations. So he can't make it. So I think we've got next week lined up anyway. So thanks for that, Zisto. And then I think I want to bring in someone to make a character on the 3rd of November. And then that'll be, let's see, November 10th. If at all possible, that's when I would like to do the Garadetsky takeover, because that'll be episode 10, and I think that would be a great way to end the season. So for those of you that are here that play the Garadetskys, if you can talk amongst yourselves and see if that works for you. So that would be Sunday, November 10th.
Does that include their extended family or the Gardetskys proper?
The Garadetskys proper, so... Oh, and our anniversary. Well, congratulations. So, so...
We'll have to talk about the Garadetsky thing.
Yeah, the Garadetsky thing is going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of them here. I'll be just kind of sitting here, I guess. I don't know. So we'll have to figure out logistics.
Figure
but
that out.
that's what I would like to do. So anyway,
It wouldn't be a Gardetsky secret meeting without excluding someone, so you're the one in the corner.
yeah, I'll just be
That's
sitting in
right.
the corner.
Just put your nose in the corner. It's
So,
fine.
and there goes Lone Star with another 40 bits to heal himself back up. He wants to stay Bit Boss very badly. So, all right. Well, that's going to be the end of the stream. Thanks everyone for being here, and we'll see you all on Sunday.
See ya later.